Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to your midday hang. We are assembled and ready to post up for you once again. It is Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All together now in our Odyssey studios. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant, rolling till 2 o'clock. 4 hours live local San Diego Sports Talk Radio. Here with you till Gwen and Chris check in for a 4-hour show later today. Scraby Chronicles to follow. No NFL tonight. No baseball tonight.
Maction.
There's some action.
We got
around.
Maction and
Are we carrying it?
Kusa action. No, not on the airwaves.
No, I mean.
I'd tune in, though, for sure.
Yeah.
You have
me
football
too.
every single day this week. Nothing like watching West Kentucky play on a Wednesday against Sam Houston State. Excited.
Western Kentucky Wednesday. Potentially a topic for tomorrow's
Big
show.
Red Wednesday? Oh, Big Red Wednesday. I love it.
Braden's fired up. How are you feeling,
Let's
Danny?
go.
It is weird not to have the games like usual every night, you know? I mean, I was watching, though. I did watch some of the playoff games yesterday. But yeah, it is weird, obviously. You don't have the Padres on every night. It takes a little getting used to.
You know, look, let's all face it. It's a show in transition now. We are the most diehard Padres show around. We built a whole hour around them every single day. Basically talked about in the other 3 hours, except for a couple segments here and there that we squeeze in the other way. And it means a couple of things. First off, that you don't have to go anywhere, Padre fans. We'll cover every aspect of this team throughout the offseason. We begin today what I assume to be a lengthy and comprehensive review of the year. Because we do show up every day for this show. And we'll start on the management side today for the San Diego Padres. We'll get into position groups as the week goes on. We'll lay out free agents. Eventually, we'll move into strategies because everything before the World Series is just speculation in that the free agents haven't literally filed.
Right.
No one can sign. So I really kind of look at between here and the World Series is more reviewy.
Yeah, I would agree. Because you don't really, once the World Series ends, you know, like the market then is open.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're open for business. Now we get into everything. Not that we
Right.
won't talk about it between here and there. That's part of a review, right, is figuring out where you stand. But all of that is to come. And, of course, eventually we'll get to the winter, 119 days till spring training. Why don't we have that as a thing on the wall? Just like tear off a day every day?
Good idea.
Well, you have whiteboards back there.
That's a great call.
We can hang one of the whiteboards up.
This man's thinking.
That's right.
This man's thinking
We got
over
Big
here.
Red Wednesday. We have markers and whiteboards with countdown to spring training. We'll see you in Peoria.
It's Creative Braden Tuesday.
That's right.
We appreciate that very much.
You want to know why? Because TCU has the best football practices every Tuesday.
Is that right?
That's right. That's what Sonny Dyke says after he gets his ass kicked every Saturday. Well, you know, we had a really great Tuesday practice.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I'm like, great, Sonny. Appreciate it, buddy.
That's brilliant.
It's not working out in the press. Can you imagine Mike Schultz said that? Well, practice on Tuesday was great after they just get bludgeoned by somebody on a random day.
Do you remember when former Lions quarterback Chuck Long was the head coach of the San Diego State Aztecs men's football program?
I remember the long days being
I do
very
not.
long days.
That was in the
Remember Rocky Long?
that was in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, that was rough.
That
That was rough Aztec football.
That was pre Brady Hoke.
Okay.
Okay, pre Brady Hoke. Brady Hoke came in and at least created a firm footing upon which the Aztecs could stand and then jump up from there, right, where they started to make it to bowl games and have a program again. Their program completely freefalled from Tom Kraft to Chuck Long.
2006 to 2008.
Yes, where this is just why you spurred this in my mind. This is not the direction the show is intended, but you spurred this in my mind.
That's what makes good radio. It's fun.
Absolutely. He very famously said in his final year that the Aztecs were a great football team everywhere but the scoreboard. Which, when they lost to New Mexico that year, 70-7, I believe, really, it was like, everywhere but the scoreboard. So, in other words, exactly, impeccable practices, right? Top-notch water delivery. Water boys right on point. Absolute excellence in setting up the systems to communicate to one another.
Moral victories.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no such thing as a moral victory.
Pack up, pack out. Nobody better
Aztecs
than the 06 Aztecs.
Aztecs in 2006 under Chuck Long went 3-9, 3-5 Mountain West play. Lost to UTEP to start the season. That's not very good.
Yeah, so that just reminded me of
What did
everywhere
they
but the
do?
score.
How long did Chuck Long last?
3 years.
3 years, 2 years? Yeah.
06, 07, 08.
It was an embarrassment.
No, how'd they do at TCU? 52-0 loss.
I remember that.
Jeez.
Like I was literally like working on those like shows. It was on the sports radio station I worked on at the time across the street.
They went 3-9.
Brandon in the
first
chat
year.
says he's currently the offensive coordinator of the Arlington Renegades. I don't know
Oh,
if that's
The
true.
Arlington Renegades.
I don't know if that's true at all. I don't even know if
What
there is an
is that?
Arlington Renegade.
That's part of the
Is there?
XFL. That was like the XFL team that's now in the USFL or whatever they.
Yes, they have
whatever
that
the
still
United
going,
whatever they
right.
merged the two spring leagues together.
Right.
So who knows? It's the off season, so who knows if they've even done that. He went 4-8 the next year, not good. And then his final year in 2008, they went 2-10,
Yes.
1-7,
2-10.
and they lost to Cal Poly.
Well, the
Yes,
Arlington,
they lost to Cal
I remember
Poly.
that. I
yes,
remember
they lost
that.
to Cal Poly.
They lost to Cal Poly at Qualcomm Stadium, 29-27.
Yes,
The
I was at that
Renegades
game.
won a championship last year, per Brandon. So.
Okay.
No,
all
there
right.
you go.
Well,
He's
He's
turned it
moved
around.
up, all right?
hey, listen, everyone gets better.
How about
Do they maybe not play on Saturdays? Maybe he's great
Their,
every
their
day but
scoreboard
Saturday.
is also as good as their practices over there with the Renegades.
Well, you know what? I would imagine the press conference after they lost to Notre Dame by 8 was probably a good one.
Yeah.
So close. We
So
were
close.
so close.
Just had it. Yeah. So, that was a dark memory to spur things. As you can hear, we're a show in transition. Part of that transition is easing out of our seasonal coverage as we ease into review. So today on the show, our friend Sammy Levitt kind of makes his, bookend appearance on the program. Started way back in spring training, coming on with us 3 times a week. He's been coming on with us at least weekly throughout the season. Sammy will join us coming up at the 11 a.m. hour for the previously described as Padres Deep Dive hour, which is now just 11. It's now just 11 o'clock.
It's not even sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings today.
I know.
It's gotten stripped of everything. It's just 11 now.
it's just 11.
Just 11 on a Tuesday.
Just 11 on a Tuesday. Tomorrow at 11 on a Wednesday, Bryce Miller will come along and join
Very
us as
good.
well. So getting some of our old friends in. I'm sure we'll get in Dylan, Rafi, before things are done. As we continue forward today, 12 o'clock Sports Fix, we'll have Match Game later on. We'll assemble the All-Star panel. Adam is on vacation today, so it will be an Adam-free Match Game. Nonetheless, we will persevere and grow on the Red Greg. Just growing as a Match Game panelist, I feel, show by
Maybe
show.
we can have Scraby.
I'm sure we can get Scraby.
Were we Adamless last time?
We were.
We
And
had-
Scraby's amazing.
We had Scraby and Greg.
Yeah, Scraby is a fun panelist, so maybe I'll text him to make sure he gets here on time, and we'll play the match game later. We'll do Ask Us Anything. We can open up the phones a couple times.
Thanks, boss. Or Dave Marcus.
Right. I mean, when he said us that, hey, I'm going to be out Tuesday, Wednesday, I almost sent him back like, by the way, match game.
Match game.
But no, I didn't. Instead, I said, hey, you deserved it, boss. Why don't you take a couple days? We'll
Recharge the
persevere on.
batteries.
We'll persevere on. And baseball perseveres on. Yesterday, the playoffs continued without us. I will admit that
Didn't notice.
the Mets-Dodgers viewing was awkward. It felt personally awkward.
Because of the snake in the dugout?
Yeah,
or
well, I
because-
mean, yes. Also, Dave Roberts was there. Because hearing that crew again, the whole the Davis, Smoltz, Rosenthal, yay, pom pom Dodger crew that is there. I mean, Joe Davis lost it when Brent Honeywell finished his 3rd inning. If you were watching, you heard he kept him in the game with 3 shutout innings. Like, just so over the top. I'm just going, come on, Joe.
Braden, did you
Come
lose
on.
it as well when your buddy Brent Honeywell gave him 3 shutout innings?
I haven't watched at all. Aside from like you making us watch it, I have zero interest in the rest of the postseason.
I really think they need to reconsider how they do that next year. I really do. I watched a little bit of the Yankees Cleveland game as well. So I was listening to their crew for the first time, really, because I'd just been in like National League
Yeah.
land.
I like the TBS.
Yeah, Brian
crew.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Brian Anderson's great.
Yeah, I thought they were really good too. And I forget the
Ron
woman's
Darling
name.
and
They have
Frenchie are there,
and
too.
they had a female also chiming in, but sorry, I forget her name.
Lauren, but something, not Shahadi.
Not
Shahadi does the
yeah.
post-game,
Jabara.
right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Or
Jabara
something like
does
that.
she does the sidelines.
Yeah, but it was good. And I thought to myself, man, like that's because that one's a true no affiliation with either team, right?
Right.
Hey,
I really have nothing against Joe Davis. I have, again, what I've been saying since the beginning is it's just the team, the Dodgers better than any other team. You're automatically going to drop storylines, have more of a attachment to the players that are on the field. Be able to talk about their journeys, whatever. Like, yeah, you're just going to be more attached, And so I really think that they need to look at reconsider how they did all that. Although I'm sure they're sitting there like, oh, we heard some chick named Annie thinks you should reconsider. Like, they'll be like,
aside from like his in-depth story about David Peralta's life, which I thought was very fascinating, Joe Davis has been kind of ridiculous. Here's what they should do. It's a simple fix. Joe Davis does football. Kevin Burkhardt does baseball.
Done.
Just switch
There,
it.
Done.
Just
fine.
simple switch.
Done.
I think Kevin Burkhardt's more of a baseball. I like his baseball. He's more of a baseball broadcaster. Joe Davis very much has that needs to be doing a football game kind of mantra.
Yeah.
just needs to be on,
Just flip it.
not the broadcast crew covering the team.
When Joe Buck was doing it
During
for
the regular
Fox,
season.
he wasn't the everyday play-by-play guy of the Cardinals.
Right.
He was just like kind of there every once in a while, but he was already detached from the organization. And most times we have seen with these national broadcasts, they're with individuals that no longer are attached to an organization. They're
Right.
they're just national broadcasters.
Just attached to the network. Exactly.
Right, exactly. So I find it weird that that's the case for Fox here. It's like, well, but the thing is like when Boog Shambi does ESPN radio and he's doing the Cubs. Yeah, you don't get the same sense of bias in there. Maybe it's because I don't dislike the Cubs as much as I dislike the Dodgers. But
that's fair to say.
I don't know. I feel like Boog's done a pretty good job of doing both, if that makes sense.
No, I think it does. And again, I think Joe Davis is a very good broadcaster. He's a young broadcaster.
Nothing against
He's
Joe Davis. Yeah.
ascended in his field at meteoric speed. He could potentially call a Super Bowl, so
I think he's done better with football than baseball.
nothing to be said other than he's clearly and obviously the Dodgers broadcaster. And like John Miller, I think did have had a lot more experience, but was able to get to that ESPN level and not be the Giants broadcaster.
Same with Boog.
While he was there. Yeah.
He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Even back to my childhood, Vin Scully would do the national game and would not be the Dodger broadcaster. No one yelled that his call in 1988 was so horribly biased and over the top for Kirk Gibson. He just met the moment as the moment existed.
Vin Scully, the best of the best.
Right, exactly.
It's
So,
hard,
unfair.
hard to emulate that.
And at that point, was it 6'3", 7'3"? It was
Yeah,
something
it was
like
6'3".
that.
Yeah, 6'3". He kept him in the game. I was just laughing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It still hurts. It should hurt. We said this yesterday, and the reason it hurts is because it matters. The reason it hurts is because the team we had that we followed every day was an excellent team with a chance to win it all. And so then you watch these two teams play, and it just begs comparison. Like, how would we be doing in this situation? We wouldn't have had to have thrown a bullpen game in game 2, of a series when the Mets were there kind of ripe for the slaughter. We would have had more depth in our rotation, maybe a chance to be up 2-0 going to New York. And so, yeah, there's that bitterness, there's that lingering, like, almost not nostalgia is not the right word, but just like that could be ours,
Regret,
yeah. I mean, honestly, covetousness, coveting the spot.
Yeah.
And also, it'd be great if the Dodgers didn't make it, This is Fox's dream, what's going on right now. This is the ultimate dream of their network. They've got New York lined up on one side, and they've got New York and L.A. lined up on the other. So as long as the Yankees come through for them through the TBS side of the bracket, they can't lose because they're either going to go L.A., New York or New York, New York.
Yeah.
And they're going to be set. Of course, they'd want L.A., New York.
Yeah, I think they definitely would. You'd get to capture that other city. New York, I think New York is kind of cool in its own way, but to be able to go coast to coast like that and to capture the audience in New York and the audience in LA, I think that they would much prefer that.
They would.
The Dodgers against the Yankees is what they're definitely wanting.
100%. They'll get great ratings for Mets Yankees if it comes out, but I won't care. I remember the Mets Yankees World Series. I barely watched it, because I don't care, because it's two teams I've never rooted for, never will root for in my life. New York teams. Why would I ever root for a New York team?
At this point, I think it's just you'd like to see the Mets advance just because of all the last few weeks with the Dodgers, especially, and obviously the history and everything like that. But it is like a little, I know what you mean, a little like, oh man, because I do think the Padres had the best pitching staff. And honestly, they have one of the best lineups as well of any team left in the playoffs. Like, you look at it and you're like, man, if the page turned and they were able to get through Game 5 and then sort of erase like a little bit of the end of that, just kind of turn the page. Okay, new series, championship series. Let's get back to being who we were. Try to find that part of us again. I think they would have had a really good shot of beating the Mets.
The best would be if the Mets make it to the World Series, because you can go back to like the week into the show or a week into the season where they're like, "This is rock bottom.
Yeah, rock bottom.
It's gonna be a miserable season." They're ready to quit on the year. They're like 7 games in. Like, oh, this is rock bottom for sure.
Rock
and there was like
bottom
no one in the stands.
Nobody in the stands. The Mets are miserable, and it's like, hey,
I
look.
love that about them. Again, I was listening to their radio broadcast when they were in the games leading into the wild card. So they had to beat the Braves. And they had to beat the Braves. They were playing the Braves.
They played Milwaukee, then they played the Braves.
Right.
Then they played Milwaukee again.
And their radio crew, when Diaz came up to pitch, which again was a little
He's a ride.
suspenseful yesterday in the ninth, but he did okay. He got out of it. But they are very adamant about hey, he doesn't necessarily do a good job here. His body language turns a little sour. Like when he gets guys on base, he tends to get a little, I forget the word that they use, but he tends to get a little too much in his head. Like, they were getting on their team in a fair way, if that makes sense. Like in terms of just for a second I was like, is this the Mets broadcast or is this, but they just like their TV broadcast, the radio guys were calling it fair. I thought calling it how it is, not trying to kind of dance around. Well, it's kind of, what I'm saying? So,
I do.
And look, a lot of times that's kind of like the directive from above. So I think it's kind of cool with the Mets that, that is kind of how they are in New York. It's like you call it more how it is in terms of not that doesn't happen in San Diego or in other markets, but just it's New York. It's like you have all that media surrounding every single player in the clubhouse. You've got dozens and they're writing about you in the New York Post. What everyone is seeing with their own 2 eyes is kind of what has to get blasted out there.
It's not happening in Dallas.
It's not happening in Dallas.
Did you see
Jerry
that this
Jones,
morning?
Yeah.
Did you see that this morning?
No, what?
You didn't see that?
What?
Jerry Jones is doing his usual hit with Odyssey, our sister station in Dallas, the flagship of the Cowboys, with their morning show. They do it every single week.
Yeah.
And he threatened to fire all of them for the questions they were asking.
Solid.
Yeah.
There's an audio clip of it.
He can fire the radio host?
And that is
he's the owner of the
kinda how
Cowboys, got the flagship deal, but that's how a lot of these organizations are moving
that's what I'm
towards.
trying to get at. And it doesn't necessarily, and it's, I try to listen to other teams throughout the season or throughout the postseason especially, and it's definitely not, it's sometimes not even the fault of the person calling the games. It's the directive. It might not even be on the scale that Jerry Jones is. He's calling for people's jobs on the actual radio for asking questions. But there is some of that going on. A mentality that people are aware of inside the organization.
I think.
Yes.
Hot take, conspiracy. I think that is what has made Joe Davis not as great of a broadcaster, is when he got the Dodgers job. Because before he was the Dodgers guy, he wasn't over screaming on things, and he was really good. Because I remember him doing college games when I was in college. He was doing games while I was in college, and I was like, oh, this guy's really good. And then he goes to the Dodgers, and you're like, This is so eyewash. This is so extra. But you see that a lot of broadcasters now that work for those teams, and the way that sometimes the flagship stations have to report on certain teams. The audio from the Jerry Jones thing this morning is great.
No, I want to hear it.
We got to play that.
Yeah, let's we can tee that up when we come back. Haven't talked American League yet as well. We can get into that a little bit and transition into a lot because, like I said, we're transitioning now as into off season, into the fall, into the winters. So we got some college football talk coming up on the program today,
and it is wide open in college football. It's great.
Yep, absolutely.
Did anyone watch the Bills and?
Bills and I watched a little. I watched a little of it. I was at the gym.
Are you kidding me? Aaron Rodgers with the Hail Mary. They teed him up for it on TV, and it's like, there's no way. And they throw. I'm like, again? He does it again? Are you kidding me? Not that like he has the power to do that. I mean, most of that is just kind of luck in the end zone, but took the L. Brutal. He's got a new weapon now.
Well, yeah, and then they trade for Devontae Adams today, reportedly. Yeah. So
more of his boys in there. See if it helps him.
Get into some of that around the 12 o'clock sports fix. An interesting story in the UT this morning. It came up yesterday, but now in the paper this morning about how a brand new, basically tailor-made, donated arena was proposed for San Diego State. And the Aztecs said, nah, thanks, bye. And therefore, no arena in Mission Valley. A fascinating story. We'll get into that as the show continues forward as well.
Should reach out to Jennifer Van Grove, see if she wants to join us later this week.
She's do it. Excellent.
She's a great guest.
Yeah.
Would love to do it. So, with that, let's take our first break. We're so thankful to have you here with us, continuing to be your midday hang as we wean ourselves off the daily routines. It's almost like we're in recovery. Just weaning ourselves off that routine. What's the Padres score today? What's the Padre game tomorrow? What's the playoff game today? No. We're back with more right after this on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fans, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, Buffalo Wild Wings is kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon, or get the fan-favorite hot barbecue before it's gone. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. Annie and Elsten here with you. Annie Halbrin, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano. We're all together. Sammy is going to join us at 11. Sam Levitt. Looking forward to that. We'll get into some more Padres content. And we'll talk a little college football as the hour continues. But we got to pay off that tease. Happy I'm not working on a Dallas sports radio station right now, as Jerry Jones is using his bully pulpit to tell the hosts to shove off.
Yeah, basically. So he's using his usual hit, and obviously not a good weekend for Jerry Jones. They have their worst home loss since the 1980s and their worst blowout loss, I think, since like 2010 or something like that, on Jerry Jones's birthday. Bummer Jerry. He got pressed in the media after the game. He even told one of the reporters, "What do you think, I'm an idiot?" on multiple things. He is kind of the biggest problem with the Dallas Cowboys,
He
sounds defensive to me.
He has the biggest problem with himself. Like he hurts himself more than, and the team, obviously. He's also the GM. You just that's the GM,
where
man.
That's where the thing in Dallas is. It's funny because most people I know in Dallas, they don't want to talk bad on Jerry because from a business side, he's a very good businessman on how he conducts everything as an owner. From a general manager standpoint and filling out a roster, he is very, very poor at that, and that's the reason why the Cowboys have never done anything since Jimmy Johnson has left, even though they won one more without him, but it was really Jimmy's guys. So he does a weekly segment with the morning show on 105. I almost called him Rock. 105.3 in Dallas. The Fan. They are the fan. 105.3 The Fan.
We tell it like it is on The Fan.
Odyssey Station, our sister station, that is the Cowboys and the Rangers flagship stations. Here's Jerry Jones of the morning show being a little disgruntled with some of the questions he had been asked.
Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, but talk about this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
why.
Get
a job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
Jerry,
okay? Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong and without going over the rights?
Well,
now, listen, we both know we're talking to a lot of great fans and a lot of great listeners. And I am very sorry for what happened out there Sunday. I'm sick about what happened Sunday. Now, I'm not talking to these yahoos on the end of this phone. I'm talking to you, the fans that are listening this morning. So let's just go ahead. I'm trying to answer your questions, man. You want some conversation this morning? You're getting it.
Wow.
Why aren't you asking? Where have we heard this before?
What an a-hole.
He's mad about everything. He's taking it out on them.
I know. It's just like it's
pathetic.
Well, what about all the good I've done? What about all the good I've done? Well, you guys just got your ass handed to you. Like it's not. What do you mean? It's not their job. It's their job to press. They're asking questions. Yeah. Why did you get your ass kicked? Why are you 3-3? Why are you expected to make it to the Super Bowl every year and you're not living up to expectations? What's the problem? What's going on? You guys are doing great things. I'm sure they kissed Jerry's ass, but come on, my guy.
Okay, according to the infallible Google machine.
The Google machine.
Jerry Jones is worth an approximate $15.5 billion. That's Jerry Jones' net worth. And he's an 82-year-old man, who thinks he can be the architect of the dynasty and the owner and the general manager of the team and the spokesperson and the face of the team still, which, by the way, he could do at certain points in his career.
For a while, he did do, yeah. I mean,
he could do at certain points in his career.
Pretty much ran the NFL for, I mean, he probably still, he's the one everyone listens to.
Yes, but when you are at the point that you are taking you're worth $15 billion, and you are on the telephone belittling radio hosts. Well, I'm not talking to these yahoos at the end of the phone. I'm talking to you, the real fans. You've lost the plot, sir. You've lost the plot. You've lost where you are. This is a sign of decay. And I'm sorry to say, but it truly is. This is a public sign of decay. And the Cowboys are now in Al Davis mode. They aren't going anywhere until he's gone.
It's not a good look at all. And he has, from a businessman standpoint, absolutely. He has done, other organizations look to him and other teams look to him and the money that he's made and the way that he's kind of transformed Cowboys, the star over there in Dallas, and obviously the arena and the surrounding areas. I mean, yes, Jerry Jones is the example of, I guess, money making in the NFL, right? And using his construction company to build all kinds of things all over. He was a big proponent of the Kroenke Stadium in Los Angeles because of what happened over there in Dallas. So, but Jerry Jones is stuck in the past and should be relinquishing some of these duties. I don't know to who. I think some of them probably go to his kids, probably to someone else. The problem is that he won't get out of their way, and that's an issue.
That's what you see with a lot of these organizations that are run by the families that inherited the team a long time ago. Is they never usually win because they don't know football. They're just, rich families. And Jerry Jones, for the longest time, I used to tell people this in Dallas all the time. I said, you guys will never win until Jerry stops calling the shots on what players you get, Jerry or his kids. And until that happens, which who knows when that will happen, if it will ever happen, Cowboys will never win a Super Bowl because in this day and age now with a salary cap, they actually have to know what they're doing instead of just buying the best roster. And the thing with Jerry is Jerry never liked the fact that Jimmy Johnson got the credit for all the Super Bowls that they won. And so he got rid of Jimmy. He won one of those Super Bowls without Jimmy, but it was still Jimmy's guys. And he's been trying to show people that he can win a Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson. That's why they kept him out of the Ring of Honor for years. I think he just finally got into the Cowboys Ring of Honor because of this feud that he had with Jimmy, because he didn't like Jimmy taking all the credit for being the football guy. And the organizations that understand, look, I'm here to own the team. I'm here to run the team from a business standpoint. Let's let the football guys take care of the football team. Those organizations win Super Bowls. The ones that think they could do it all themselves don't, especially an 80-year-old man that is way past his time trying to call the shots. And obviously, he doesn't like getting the heat because for so long, we're talking about somebody that is so rich, he always gets his way, and he's always been the right guy, and he always gets his ass kissed. He's not used to this criticism, and nor does he like it. And right now, the Cowboys, who did nothing during the offseason, who signed all of their players super late, so they had to pay extra for CeeDee Lamb on a contract extension and Dak Prescott on a contract extension, who did nothing to help their running game, nothing to help their defense, are sitting there going why is everybody mad at me? Why is everybody mad at me? It's not my fault the team stinks. Well, I don't know, man. Maybe because you guys haven't done anything during the last couple of off seasons.
I do remember that Barry Switzer coach team. We did it our way, Jerry. We did it our way. Remember that down on I think it was at the Rose Bowl that they went. Right. We did it our way.
I remember being at the Combine in Indianapolis covering it and sitting with a few Union Tribune people. It was the last day. We were sitting kind of near the lobby, the front entrance or whatever. And Norv Turner came over and was talking to us. And then up rolls the bus. And out of the bus comes Jerry Jones. And, because he travels in his tricked out Jerry Jones mobile or whatever. And then everybody just flocks to him. I mean, he really was, the reason he's like this is because he did it for so long and everybody just revered, and kind of worshiped the ground that he walks on. And like I said, I mean, like, look, he's done a lot of good things and also a lot of bad things, by the way,
Yes,
has
we
come
know.
out with the racism and the womanizing that he's done.
The
But
child the illegitimate child, whatever situation that is.
right, and the racist comments and things like that. So but just in terms of running his team, like on one hand, you're like, man, you got the owner coming on the radio station every week, and when things are going well, the guy's kind of hilarious, and he's used to getting his way, like Braden said, and you've got him every week on. But this is a point where it's like, man, you got to walk away a little.
It's almost like he's an actor, right? And when he was
like
at
he
the
plays
top,
a part.
no,
yeah.
but like he was at the top of his game, and now he's starting to trickle out, and he doesn't like the fact that he's not getting the same, treatment that he did back in the day because his roles are different now, and he's not getting those big acting roles anymore. I still think about like what would San Diego be like if the NFL allowed him to buy the Chargers before he bought the Cowboys?
Oh. Wow.
Like seriously, like what do you think? Like what would San Diego be like?
How different would Mission Valley look?
Right. I mean, Mission
After
Valley
he developed the whole thing.
It
after
would
he
be
took
Mission
over.
Valley Live.
You would have.
It might
yeah.
be. It really might be.
How many?
I think there would be another sports team. I think there'd be like an NBA.
We'd
there,
probably have
or-
multiple
yeah.
sports teams. You'd probably
Yeah.
have. I mean, you'd have the Chargers, right? And they would have Jerry's World because
'Cause
that
he
guy
would-
was going to build
right.
it here. You would have the
He
size.
would bring him in.
That would be the mecca
Mm-hmm.
of football instead of NFL Network being based in LA at the brand new SoFi Stadium. That would be here. Everything would be out here. I mean, you'd have tons of stuff out here and major events. So
It's
missed
also a
opportunity.
reminder of when if someone's asking you about something that's not gone well, not always the best approach, and we've seen it before. To
Yes.
turn it around and say, we'll talk about the things that are going well for us.
Right. That's a
There's
good.
a time for that, and that's been being done. But if you're just looking at some things that aren't, going so properly, especially after they got their butts beat against the Lions. I mean, what was that final score?
47-9.
47 score got me, by the way.
Should be tattooed
you
on
can't
his
start
arm.
talking about what went well.
Yeah.
You got to start talking
Yes.
about what are you going to do to change things? How are you guys going to bounce back? That wasn't just like a heartbreaking close loss. That was like a blowout, man. That was
Yeah.
like a college score.
It's not like they're grinding out games and they're just coming up short and the team's good, but like things haven't gone their way. Where you could pull a Chuck Long and talk about how great you are. But when you have when you have a game like that. And you're getting asked about what's going on because you're America's team. America wants to hear from you, Jerry. When you start to get defensive on those things, they know it's bad.
Yeah, it's
he
over.
knows it's bad.
It's
he
over,
knows
is
it's
what
terrible.
it is. You've lost. At that point, you've lost. When you're berating talk show hosts for giving you questions that critique the roster when you just lost by almost 40 at home. And didn't score a touchdown, and you're saying, I'll just change the question askers. That tells you how much you've insulated yourself against criticism, against reality in your life. $15.5 billion. I still can't get over that.
He wants the praise when the Cowboys do well, like he made the team, but he doesn't want the cons of if it doesn't go well, that it's his fault. And that's why owners should just own the team and let somebody else run the team so you have a scapegoat and a way out of it. That's not a family member, by the way.
When we come back, we've been talking about it, all year long, how college football, how the state of college sports is completely changed. It's almost unrecognizable.
We might
from
even
where
get
it
a
was.
development during the break just because why not?
Right, sure, yeah.
There's a whole new conference.
Yeah,
a whole new.
new
exactly.
conference, team,
Whole new- yeah.
school goes here, school goes there. We've got the latest school goes here, school
They're going to
goes
be
there.
flying to Mars to play games.
That's right.
But have they actually made a better product out of all of
Playing
this?
with aliens.
We'll talk about it when we come back. Annie and Elsten, it's your midday hang, talking sports with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. 10:48 is the time. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. Sam Levitt's joining us at the top of the hour, so we're getting right back to Padres conversation coming up in just a few minutes. Something occurred to me over the weekend as I watched what for me felt like an inordinate amount of college football. As it just...
Welcome, Craig.
Right?
Welcome.
Come on in. It's like that
Join the
Homer gif, patting the couch.
That's right.
Come here, sit down.
Sit down, Craig. Enjoy us college football fans.
So when I started off watching South Carolina and Alabama, and the game being far closer than I'd seen pretty much in my life for those two teams playing one another. Normally that's that game that's on that I'm folding laundry and now it's 34-3, and why am I watching this? Is anything else on?
Right.
That's normally the feeling I would have, and instead it was right down to the very literal last play in Tuscaloosa, down to a recovery of an onside kick, and then can they make it down for the field goal, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, the afternoon window had Penn State coming west to play USC at the Coliseum. You've got the Navy and the white going against the crimson and the gold. It just like the whole tapestry of it was wonderful. It looked like a Rose Bowl game, and it was an incredible game that went to overtime and involved some controversy on non-calls on the PSU secondary during the overtime period. And, of course, Penn State gets the win, and it's heartbreak. And did Lincoln Riley fudge the, what am I looking for? The timing at the end of the game. He let 30 seconds run off the clock at one point. When SC could have driven for the winning field goal. Clock management. That's the phrase that I was
Management.
Trying to dig out of my head there, trying to unearth these terms.
There's no clock in baseball, so
Right, well,
haven't
there's
used
a
that
pitch
term in a long
clock.
time.
Yeah. And then right
Yeah.
into the afternoon when, once again, we had Ohio State going west to play Oregon. And two powerhouse programs. Again, I literally went to that Rose Bowl when Ohio State played Oregon and Terrell Pryor was the quarterback for Ohio State. I was at that Rose Bowl when it happened. I still have a T-shirt from it, I think. So, okay, here's my point. Wow. I mean, super conferences, NIL, all the money, all the transfer portals, red shirts that are happening because people don't get paid, quarterbacks sitting out, red shirting because they didn't get paid. All of this is chaotic. All of it is hard to follow. Certainly in the off season, I would have failed and probably still would fail all the quizzes of which team is in which conference.
Sounds like a good, silly game.
Yeah, but doggone it, when you put all the best teams in a conference against each other, you get these Rose Bowl style games like all day and multiple times a year. And did they make the product better with all of this?
Well, I think there's a lot to unpack on that. Here's the first
If they have you watching, I would argue maybe they did.
The product is better because it's actually more of an even playing field than we thought. I mean, are the rich getting richer? Yeah, to a certain extent. But the thing that college football was, the era that we just got out of, was about 4 teams were the best schools because they could afford to pay for everybody on their roster, and so they had all of the best players, 2-3 deep. And those guys wouldn't ever leave. They would just be there the whole time. And so they had this almost hoarding of, and it's really linemen. It's linemen. Like, there's not enough humans that are that large to go around. It's just, it's true. And you can see that at every level of football. The schools that have the biggest guys on the line are the schools that are going to win. Same thing in the NFL. I mean, those are
You win in the
behemoth
trenches, yes.
human beings. And it's if you don't have guys as the same size as the other team, it's rough. And there's only so much scheming you can do to fix that problem. But these big schools, and it was Alabama, and it was Ohio State, and it was Clemson, and sometimes it was Oregon, or you mix in a Georgia here and there. But for that period of time, that era was just those 4 particular schools. They had everybody, and then on top of that, they would never play each other. They would never play anybody.
Right.
And they would schedule all these cupcake games. They'd play all these games that didn't matter. And people and traditionalists would tell you all the time, well, they need those games because, that's the way to fund the FCS programs and all this other BS. And people were tired of not – and you know who was tired of it? The TV executives. They're like, why are we airing these games? Who cares? This is a waste of my time watching Alabama play Chattanooga in the middle of November.
Yes.
This is boring. And then even on top of that, in the league, you were having these schedules that were ridiculous, and the only time people were super into watching was in the playoffs when you had these big marquee matchups because guess what? The coaches never wanted to schedule it themselves.
Right.
So TV networks were like, look, we're going to do it for them.
And
we're going to do it for them. And that's what they did by making these new conferences. And I do think a lot of these conferences are dumb, but you could have avoided this problem if you just, I don't know, instead of having Georgia only play in the state of Georgia and never travel to the West Coast, or same thing with these like Ohio State, instead of them just manning up and going out there and playing Oregon on the road because they were afraid of losing, they forced these schools to do that. And now with NIL, it's like, why would I be a backup at Alabama for $200,000 when I could be a starter at insert school here for $1 million?
North Carolina State.
Right.
Right.
It's so there are some positives to this of the level playing field, and this is the best year for a 12-team playoff. I'll tell you that because
That's what I was
you're
about
gonna
to drive
get
to.
you're gonna get some carnage, and that's the other thing too. The 14 playoff was BS because in football, casualties are a thing of the game. And when you have to go through a gauntlet and win 4 games in a row to win a national championship, the best school ain't going to make it through that all the time. It's going to be the schools that are the healthiest. There's going to be some carnage in the postseason. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, but the fact that teams would never schedule one another because they were afraid of getting a loss to not make a 2 or 4 team playoff. Now there's a 12-team playoff, so you can lose a game to Penn State, still sneak in, and then make it through the playoffs. So I don't know. They might have fixed it a little bit by breaking it totally. Sam Levitt is next on Eddie and Elsten. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of your midday hang. It is Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant, all together with you in our Odyssey studios for hour number 2 of our 4-hour get-together. We will roll till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will check in from 2 to 6. Mellifluous Matt Scraby will join you for the Scraby Show.
Nice.
From 6 to 7 p.m. this evening. Looking forward to that. Such a long day for Scrabes. I just can't imagine at the end of 4 hours going, here comes the next hour of me.
Yeah. That was like me last night. High school show. I was
Yeah.
here till that was a long night yesterday.
Firing out. But speaking of long nights, here's a man joining us on the phone on the 97.3 The Fan hotline who has had a number of long nights following San Diego Padres baseball, from the first pitch of spring training through the final pitch that was thrown at Dodger Stadium. The host of the Padres pre- and post-game show, the great Sam Levitt, returns to Annie and Elsten one more time. Sammy, thanks as always, my friend.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me. I certainly wish we were talking about the first 2 games of the NLCS, but was not meant to be in 2024, so we carry on.
Well, Sammy, you were there at Dodger Stadium for Game 5, and of course you saw the final 2.5 games where we talk about the 24 scoreless innings for the Padres. Well, what was your take on, what was your perspective on just kind of what happened the last few games for the Padres?
Yeah, well, and I said this yesterday on the morning show. You know, I think it's going to be easy to lump in those 24 consecutive innings all together. And I think when we look back on it in a decade, that's probably what you're going to remember is the number 24. But I think you really have to kind of parse it out game by game, because obviously, you know, not tacking on in Game 3 at the time didn't seem like a huge deal. The fact that they added on, you know, Game 4 was a little bit different. Dylan Cease doesn't set a great tone. They fall behind 5-0 after 2.5 innings, and you know, it seemed like they just ran into sort of a buzzsaw on what all of a sudden was a really hot Dodger bullpen, and had to face a number of different arms, and it seemed like that was something that, you know, perhaps affected them more so than you would imagine for an offense that had been as good as they'd been. And then Game 5 is the one where I think you really scratch your head, and you look at the matchup against Yamamoto, the fact that they had hit him so well, you know, in the first 3 starts against him, including in the postseason, and, you know, go down 1-2-3 in the first inning. I mean, I felt like that sort of set the tone for the whole night. You know, Yamamoto getting through that first inning 1-2-3, and, you know, Yu Darvish, you know, can't be perfect, and he was awesome, but gives up 2 solo home runs, and it just felt like things got tight as the game went on. And, you know, from an at-bat perspective, it just looked like a different group. It wasn't the same quality of at-bats we saw throughout the year. It just looked like a different team and a different offense. And, you know, Game 5 is the one where I think you leave it sort of scratching your head, and I think you'll be wondering about that game, you know, and what happened to the offense for a while. But I don't necessarily view Game 5 like I view Games 3 and 4. But, yeah, altogether, obviously, it became one, you know, lump of 24 innings where offensively they just look like a very, very different group. And, you know, still on this Tuesday morning, I don't know that I have a great answer as to why that was. But, you know, clearly the tide turned in the series, and they couldn't get that momentum back for whatever reason.
You know, Sam, my buddy Rafio over at Padres Hot Tub put some research together last night that I thought shed at least a little bit of light in terms of the way L.A. pitched the Padres' left-handed batters in the series compared to how they did in the regular season. And in particular, there was an emphasis on throwing inside pitches to certain left-handed batters, while at the same time, L.A. employed the closest thing that you can in 2024 to a full shift against the lefties, only putting basically one infielder on the left side of the infield. It was remarkable to me. One of those players was Luis Arraez, who you'd think you really couldn't put in a box in terms of trying to get him to ground to a certain part of the infield, but they did. They pounded him inside. They threw 27 inside pitches to Luis Arraez in the series, and he was grounded to first base every game of the last 3 games. I just thought strategically that was something that our elite adjusting unit didn't make an adjustment against.
Yeah, and I think overall, Craig, and I understand nobody out there this week wants to tip their cap to the Dodgers bullpen and what their pitching did, and I fully understand that's a really hard thing to do, but it does seem like that there is an element of that where they just did a really good job, kind of out of nowhere against these Padres hitters and shut them down for basically the course of 3 games, like. You know, when I know you guys played some of the audio yesterday from inside the clubhouse that we had, you know, there was sort of a theme of, hey, they pitched really well, and then you see what that bullpen did against, Flaherty was really good in Game 1 for the Dodgers against the Mets, but you sort of look at what their bullpen continues to do, and we'll see how they do the rest of the series against New York. But, yeah, I think there's an element of that of they pitched really well, and whatever strategy they employed, and, Craig, those are good points to bring up about pitching inside and defensive alignment. Yeah, I mean, it worked. It worked. And look, you brought up Luis Arraez. I mean, look, that's certainly one guy that didn't have a very good series, and we know how important he became as, the table setter at the very top of the lineup. But obviously it wasn't just him. I mean, Profar's struggling, and Manny, kind of after Game 1, not having a very good series. Fernando not finishing the series very hot. Hey, I mean, some of this is just basic stuff. When you have games like this in the postseason and winner-take-all games and all of these different sorts of big nights, you need your big guys and your top of the lineup to deliver. And, unfortunately, almost for 3 full games after that 6-run second in Game 3. It just didn't happen. And that can happen. They picked an awfully bad time to all collectively go ice cold, and that's sort of what you come back to. We can talk about the Dodgers pitching. We can talk about how they approached them, and maybe the Padres didn't adjust how they needed to. But, man, just an awfully bad time to collectively go as cold as you went all year, and that's kind of what happened for whatever reason that is.
Yeah, and Sammy, as we look back on the postseason, of course, kind of we covered that and talked about, what went right, what went wrong. But for the regular season, I mean, you covered this team since spring training. I know it's a very broad question, but what are some of the things that you take away from this 2024 season for the Padres? Like a few things that maybe you were surprised at or that you walk away from with some perspective on.
Well, I think collectively, and I understand it's hard this week to really focus on it. And look, the way it ended and, not just losing the series, but the way they lost it, I understand it gives you kind of a confusing feeling about this season right now. Now, in a couple of months, you're probably going to look back on it and say, in an overall sense, this was a team that played with a ton of heart, a ton of fight. And by the way, I don't view what happened in the NLDS as an effort thing, as a care thing. You see that stuff on social media. So what do you think? They were up 2-1 and they just quit? I mean, it just makes no sense. Okay, they got outplayed and they got beat, and that happens. But I don't view what happened as a care or an effort thing at all. I mean, this team, what I'll remember, Annie, is they played with a passion. They played with an energy. They played really beautiful offense, that was aesthetically pleasing and fun to watch, and seemed to really gel as a unit. And each and every night, it really felt, especially in the second half, like a 26-man roster effort. And hopefully that is a sign of what the culture of this team will be moving forward under Mike Shildt, under A.J. Preller. It certainly was a very different team than 2023 and how they presented in 2023. So those are all good things, and hopefully that is something you can build on, with some consistency with Mike Shildt at the helm. And I hope they are the same kind of team next year. On an individual level, there were so many good things, moving forward into next year and beyond that happened. The emergence of Jackson Merrill, Michael King, obviously, I think is a huge one. Seeing what Fernando did late in the year and the way he was locked in, I think is also really important. Hopefully he can stay healthy and he gets healthy with the leg over the off season. So, there were a number of, I think, individually and collectively really good things and things we'll really love about this season. And, baseball's a funny sport. Like, we take so much away from these very short series when, it's really day to day, like during the course of 6 months about the macro. And it's a funny sport like that. But I think ultimately you'll remember, 2024 is a great year with a lot of fun, with a team that was really awesome that unfortunately had just a bad ending. And, maybe we look back on it as a lesson for those guys. And maybe this time next year it's, hey, they learned something from that and they grew from it from hopefully whatever next postseason brings.
We're talking with Sam Levitt. You know his voice, Padres pregame, postgame host right here on 97.3 The Fan. Well, Sam, I am just thrilled to turn the page from talking about 24 scoreless innings and 19 straight retired batters. I'd really like to memory hole that and just bury it under 12 feet of memory dirt and see if it never unearths again. With that said, it means we start to look ahead to 2025. And on one level, I think the Padres are very well set for some version of a run it back. When you trade for guys like Dylan Cease, who have 2 years of control, and King, who have 2 years of control, Arise, etc., it means that you are opening, Adam, you're opening a 2-year window instead of opening a 1-year window. But with that said, Sammy, the Padres get more expensive with the same players next year. You start to get into the jumps next year. For example, Fernando jumps $9 million next year. Yu Darvish jumps $5 million. Jake Cronenworth jumps $4 million. By the way, the year after that, Manny starts to get a lot more expensive for 2 straight years. So A.J. Preller built his roster with some contracts designed to make the early 2020s a very competitive time to give him flexibility, but that flexibility starts to come due this winter.
Yeah, Craig, it feels like this is, without knowing the exacts of the payroll situation, it feels like he's going to have to do a similar job to what he did this year, and that is really, really hit on the moves he makes. And he did. I mean, look, AJ deserves a ton of credit for what he built and the big moves he made, the little moves he made. Nearly everything really, really worked. It really did. Not everything, but almost every big and little move really contributed to what was a really, really good 93-win team. And I'm with you. He's going to have to do something similar. Look, there are still going to be some pretty big questions. Look, shortstop, I guess, is one of them. I guess the easy answer to that is Xander gets another year at shortstop, and Jake Cronenworth is playing second base, and Luis Ariz is playing first base on most days, and you get whether it's Solano or somebody else to play first base with him. But I guess there would be an argument to be made that, hey, if you're going to really move him to second base long term, then I don't know, maybe you just do that, and maybe the shortstop's not on the roster. That's one question in my mind. I mean, obviously the Profar question, the starting catcher question. I mean, yes, I'm totally with you. They are very well positioned from a talent standpoint to basically run this thing back, hopefully get the kinds of contributions they got from whether it's the same guys or other guys next year, and AJ's got to be really good with those moves. But yeah, they're in a great spot. But there are some pretty key questions. Like, hey, if you can't confidently say right now who's going to be your starting catcher, well, that's a big question. Left field, that's a big question. So there's some big ones, but I'm with you. And starting pitching obviously is going to be a need. I think their bullpen at this moment is pretty well set up. Not that it's complete. So yeah, AJ's going to have to do a good job. And based on, unless this payroll's jumping up massively, and you mentioned the increases, he's going to have to do a similar job. And look, to AJ's credit, he proved this year that, maybe he does his best work when he has to work within those, constraints. And, they are certainly, I think in a very, very good starting spot. He's going to have to do that again. And, he did prove this year he can do it. So that's got to be your hope, that he hits on a lot of those moves again.
Sammy, 2 questions here. One, you your schedule is drastically changing. And as we talk about how abrupt of an ending it is for fans and players, it is for broadcasters such as yourself and media alike, because all of a sudden you have all this empty time, right? So I want to know, first of all, like, what are you going to do with some of your time? Any plans? And then two, you're Padres through and through, but you do have ties to New York. So are you surprised at all at how the Mets are doing? And do you think that they're going to be able to get past the Dodgers?
Well, the first part of the question, yeah, I mean, I have more time to myself, which is nice. I mean, I'll do stuff for the station, and we'll get to the winter meetings, and look, with spring training, it rolls around that first week of February, second week of February, pretty quick. So, yeah, but it's good. It's good to have a little bit more time, and I'll see my family a little bit. I'll make a trip back to New York or whatever it might be. Maybe go somewhere. We'll see. I to be honest, I'm not the best at figuring this stuff out during the season. So like this morning, I sit down and try to kind of map out what things are going to look like. As far as the Mets, look, I'll tell you what. I have kind of waited for the bottom to fall out of what's been a pretty magical ride for that team for a while, and it just hasn't happened. Now it's a 1-1 series with LA. We'll see, but yeah, they've got a lot going for them, and maybe more than anything, they just continue to pitch really well. Like the contributions they get from Minaya and Severino. And Jose Quintana, like, I think that's the most kind of incredible part. Not the fact that Lindor has been unbelievable. He's a great player, and look, they've had big time seasons from Vientos, and just a lot kind of go right. And look, they play hard and they fight. Yeah, I mean, to me, they've got a real shot. I mean, I think the Yankees have a real shot. I think the Guardians have a real shot. I think all four teams left have a legitimate shot. We'll see what happens in that Yankees-Guardians series tonight if the Yankees go.
Yeah, I think three do. I'll agree with you on three of those, Sam. I think three teams.
Yeah,
have a great shot.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. But maybe it's more so the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. So yeah, look, from the Mets standpoint, I do have a lot of Met fans in my life for sure. Yeah, it's been pretty impressive. Like they just have found ways to kind of continue what's been a kind of a magical ride there, and Lindor's been amazing, and we'll see. I still do wonder if the bottom's going to sort of fall out at some point, but to this point, they've been able to keep the pitching together, and I look at their series against the Dodgers. I mean, I think they have the starting pitching advantage, so it's going to be very interesting to see if the Dodgers can win this series. I don't know if I were looking at it right now with 1-1 in a best of 7. I think there's an argument to be made that the Mets maybe have a bit of an upper hand because of that starting pitching. I was very confused yesterday. I know I'm rambling on now, but very confused yesterday about what the strategy was for the Dodgers. I mean, to have Landon Knack coming in the second inning, I didn't understand. When they said bullpen game, I thought they were going to run back what they did against the Padres, and they did not do that at all. It felt like they punted the game yesterday. I was like, I'm watching, they're kind of shocked. I'm like, what? Wait, this is the strategy? It's game 2 of the NLCS. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, look, the Mets continue to play really well, and I think it's a postseason that was kind of wide open to start. I think it's pretty wide open right now, and probably 3 teams that have the best shot to win it. Maybe you put the Guardians in another bucket right now.
Sammy, love you, man. Appreciate everything that you've done for this show, for the station, all season long.
Yes.
Incredible work. Certainly, we will not be strangers. We'll continue to be hounding you to come on the show periodically as things are happening. But do enjoy your interregnum. Doing whatever. I think you should come up with something brand new, like how an NBA player works on their jump shot during the off season, like. Come back with a mustache or something, just.
Yeah, I gotta drop a few pounds. Here's my goal. I'm trying to get to spring training, as they say, in the best shape of my life.
Yes!
That's what I want. I want to be able to show up in Peoria and say, I am in the best shape of my life. That's what I want to say,
Hey.
Perfect.
along with everybody else.
And we'll adjust our fantasy draft rankings for you accordingly. Levitt's in the best shape of his life. Do we pick him in the 3rd this year, or do we let him slide to the 5th? All right,
Exactly.
Sammy. Be well, my friend.
Love it, Sammy. Thank you so much.
All right. See ya. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The great Sam Levitt.
Yeah, some very kind comments in the chat too, as there should be, and as there is, and it's so true. The season ends, and you're like, okay, time to work out now. Time to do everything that you can't do because you have best intentions during the season, but man, it goes to poop fast. I mean, it's hard to get on the old schedule. So everybody shows up, hey, in the best shape of your life, training camp, spring training, all that good stuff.
The playoffs in particular are brutal.
Yeah. I mean, you really just don't catch a second off, right? I mean, because it's a workout day or a game day, and then obviously like we had shows too, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah. I think I drank enough beer for the month.
You're just talking drinking beer.
Yes, drinking beer,
okay.
eating things that you
working.
shouldn't. Yeah, I mean, working too, but for anyone, there's all sorts of, it's a
There's a lot of
rough
stress
life.
eating probably happening during the
Oh my
playoffs for
God,
fans, I
so
would
much
imagine.
Stress eating.
Yes.
So much stress eating. Yeah, don't
stress
leave,
eating and stress drinking.
Don't
yes.
leave fried things around me while there's runners on base. I'll just be periodically just I know. So maybe now is the time to get on that weight loss program. Right now, get ready for the holidays. Maybe me and Sammy can both be in the best shape of our lives going forward. Okay, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll continue the Padres conversation and open up the big dusty tome for our review of the year. We're going to begin on the management side. I thought let's knock out like the most boring thing first. Just get one thing, clear it so that we can move forward. So, was this A.J. Preller's best season? What do you do with Mike Schilt? He's free agent after next year, Ruben Niebla is a free agent right now.
Yes.
What is it going to take to lock him up long term?
I'm surprised that they didn't extend him before his contract ran out.
Me too.
But I don't know. Sometimes that's just like a formality. Like both sides know that they're going to do it, but they just get caught up in other stuff, and then they just get it done over the offseason. So it's I'm not alarmed, but I'm surprised.
Well, we'll talk about it all when we come back. Andy and Elsten, your midday hang, still talking Padres baseball right here with you on The Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Annie and Elsten back here with you. Annie Halbin, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenik going till 2 o'clock. All right, let's get it started. Reviewing the season that was for the San Diego Padres. So many different directions to go. We will start with the guys that don't throw or catch or hit the ball. The management side. If you go right to the tippity top, Annie, I think you'd have to say that this was a huge season for the San Diego Padres. New ownership, obviously, the stewardship of Eric Kutsenda after the passing of Peter Seidler, a lot of the ownership in a trust. Now, a lot of uncertainty around that at the beginning of the year. Certainly from Padre fans, a ton of uncertainty. The payroll was lowered. Ticket prices went up. So for this team in this environment to not only have the second most wins in franchise history, thus making the cut payroll thing moot, and the highest attendance in team history, making the raised ticket prices money in the bank, feels like this season went almost as well as it could have for the Padres upper brass.
Absolutely. Obviously, a World Series run or a World Series win would be the ideal way for it to end for that front office, but in terms of coming off of that 2023 season where so much went wrong and there was so much conversation around the management and around how the organization was running and around the clubhouse, like you had a pretty cohesive, very cohesive, really, match this year in terms of AJ Preller, Mike Schilt, where the front office was kind of in stuff and where they were out of stuff. And for them at the box office, you couldn't have asked for anything better. I mean, the postseason was remarkable in the fact that the fans were so intense and they were waving the towels and they brought it even harder. But really, it was just an extension of what they had done really all season long, because it was a sellout almost every single night there at Petco Park, and they were breaking records, as we learned about, every single night pretty much with that renovation at Gallagher Square. So I would think that they are in a pretty darn good position in terms of wanting things to remain pretty consistent.
Yeah. Now, the one area that I'm sure the Padres upper brass, C-suite brass, would love to improve upon is the broadcast revenue bucket, which, once again, for the second straight year, the Padres had to self-create their broadcast, and they also had to self-promote their broadcast. They had to self-distribute their broadcast. They had to come up with deals with local providers just to carry their broadcast so that it was available anywhere. Of course, their over-the-top service meant they had to lure subscribers for the season. And while we don't have a definitive financial report from the Padres, everything that we've been able to glean is that what they got from that compared to other teams that have local television deals, what they got from that was negligible at best, right? There's still some backstopping a little bit from MLB, isn't there?
Yeah, from what I understood from talking to a few people inside the organization, the takeaway I got was it was not as dire as it sounded this year because of the Bally's lawsuit that paid them out, so they were backstopped by MLB the first year. Then last year, or 2024, they got a payout from Bally's that helped with some stuff. And their subscriber and plus, DirecTV and all their carriers tended to pretty much, from what I was told, close the gap in a way that it wasn't terribly bad. However, then the comment was made to me, but we'll see what happens next year. So it does sound like it's a very fluid situation in the terms that you're 100% not making the money that you were making with Bally's. That was a very team-friendly contract. And you're not even making the money that I think you'd be making with a less team-friendly contract with Bally's. But it did sound like they felt like, maybe they were not in as bad of a position as was maybe made it sound, earlier on. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that's this year. There's no lawsuit payout next year
Correct.
that we know about. So
now, could they get more advertisers or a better carrier deal? I don't know. There could be other money coming in from other places. I don't think it will touch the kind of money that they were making before on the TV side.
While last offseason, the Padres C-suite level was preoccupied with the renovation of Gallagher Square. That was a major product or major program for the team to go through. And of course, it was done, right before the season. I don't know. Maybe they've got a little bit more, not time on their hands, but a little more bandwidth to get into potentially a creative solution here. I don't know what that is. There's no big money cable company walking through the door going, hey, here we are, we're Comcast, we want to put down a beachhead in San Diego and we're going to give you $2 billion for Padres baseball the next 20 years.
There isn't. And you have to understand the market still. While San Diego is a great market and a wonderful place for Padres fans, it is somewhat stifled in the sense that there's kind of only a certain amount of money that can be made at the high levels here, and that is one of the reasons, unless you get kind of creative with it, I suppose, or you maybe part of it is that kind of investing in the infrastructure to go out there and find better deals or find more creative revenue for the TV side. But it is not like a market like New York or Los Angeles where there are just a lot more lucrative deals that are out there to be made. Same with the amount of people that watch. I mean, it's not a market like the Cowboys or the Raiders or even the Dodgers or the Yankees where there's fans all over the world, right? I'm sure that their run this year helped. I would imagine, I would hope, help drive up some viewership, but I don't know that those numbers are extreme. The reason why I see this in the chat a lot, why don't they do more programming around the game? It's because it costs them, in their eyes, it costs them more money to do the programming than they would make selling it. So that was a problem with Bally's as well. That's not just a problem this year. That was a problem with Bally's as well, where in this market, the programming other than the game doesn't tend to drive in the revenue that you would hope for in terms of you won't hear me. I mean, my argument on that is, well, is it the chicken or the egg? Like, you invest more in the product and the ancillary programming around it, maybe you bring in more views, maybe you bring in more people who get attached to the product or the players or whatever. So you'll never hear me saying you don't need content, but that is often what I would hear from the higher ups, not this year, not with the Padres, but with previous years.
Something to continue to consider as the off-season continues, but nothing with an easy answer.
Nothing with an easy answer, especially on the broadcast side. Yeah.
Not at all. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, the rest of the Padres management side. A.J. Breller's best season as a GM. He has to be back for another go, but how creative is he going to have to be this winter? We'll talk about that and more as we continue forward. Annie and Elsten talking Padres with you right now on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12 o'clock Sports Fix coming up at the top of the hour here on Annie and Elsten, including 2 big-time wide receiver trades in the National Football League. Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper both going to the AFC East.
Oh, wow.
On the same day. We'll get all of that information for you coming up at the top of the hour. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the roofing professionals at Extreme Roofing of San Diego. Mother Nature is unpredictable, and so is the San Diego rain. Don't wait till your roof suffers damage. Call Extreme Roofing of San Diego to prepare your investment from catastrophe. Schedule your roof inspection now at 619-334-ROOF or online at extremeroofs.com. 619-334-ROOF. Roof. Extremeroofs.com. Okay. Continuing our review of management.
I always think of the roof. The roof.
The roof is on fire.
That's what they do when Brandon Ayuk scores a touchdown on the Niners
Yes.
radio. Ayuk is on fire. He hasn't been on fire at all.
Does he need some water?
I think he needs an Ayuk, whatever that is.
He don't need no water?
That's right.
Got it. We talked about the kind of the C-suite last segment. Let's go to A.J. Preller. A.J. Preller came into the season pretty much on the hot seat.
Yes.
I think
Very much on the hot seat.
Yeah. And trading 12 of your top 15 prospects over the course of the season indicates that he felt that pressure and wanted to put a winner on the field, above and beyond. Maybe he didn't feel the pressure. Maybe he just felt an internalized pressure to put a winner on the field, to make up for the disappointment of 2023, to get this franchise back on track, heading toward that perennial contender image that they are trying to foster and cultivate. He had to do so while trading Juan Soto. And I feel like of all the moves he's made, that's the one that we talk about the least because it's the furthest in the rearview mirror. But nothing happens this year if you don't trade Juan Soto. There's no money to sign anybody. You're going to have a very incomplete, very unbalanced roster. By trading Juan Soto, getting Michael King's 180 innings and 2 playoff wins, getting what winds up being your starting catcher, getting 100 innings of starting pitching from Randy Vasquez, getting over 40 innings of relief from Johnny Brito, and getting the piece that was the centerpiece to get Dylan Cease in a subsequent trade. Really, that Juan Soto trade to me is the backbone of everything that happened this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's a lot of healthy criticism, I think, that you could talk about with A.J. Preller and his staff and go through, hey, was this the right move? Was that the right move? Or at least some discussion about it, right? But for this year, he and his staff, he and his lieutenants did an excellent job. And that Juan Soto trade did pay off dividends. Also, when you look at that, I mean, you've got pitchers in that trade that are going to stay with you going forward that are probably just going to get better. I mean, Michael King, first year in the starting rotation, did an excellent job. He's going to improve. That he's still under contract with the Padres. Same with same with Johnny Brito. Same with Randy Vasquez. Kyle Higashioka is a free agent, but you're going to have guys that can grow with this organization, which is always really important to A.J. Preller. And then to go ahead and get Luis Ariz, to get Dylan Cease, to make those moves at the beginning of the season. It would have been too late for the Padres had he waited until the trade deadline. But then at the trade deadline to make another set of great moves for the bullpen and for Martin Perez. I think he just did a really great job and set this organization up in a pretty good way going forward with the budget constraints that they now have.
JH makes a good point in the chat as well that I left out going through the details of that trade. Trading away Trent Grisham, while I think a lot of us in town were ready to see Trent Grisham go, after back-to-back sub-200 seasons. Nonetheless, he was the team's entrenched 4-year starting center fielder, and you were replacing him at the time with nobody. You were replacing him with an empty spot, and then eventually you were filling that spot with a 20-year-old shortstop that had never played above Double-A and converted into a center fielder in spring training. But again, you created that vacuum that allowed Jackson Merrill to step in and flourish and bloom as a player. So many tentacles from that deal. But like you said, so many of the trades that he made this year panned out. And beyond that, you go to the signings and you look at Donovan Solano and how important he was. You look at Jeremiah Estrada and bringing him from the Cubs and what a find that was.
David Peralta,
absolutely, who was invaluable when Tatis was down. I mean, for a month and a half, he hit over 800 OPS for the team as their everyday right fielder while Tatis was away. That was just huge. And, honestly, he put himself in a box with so many of the long-term commitments that he has on this team. He's still in that box. He'll be in that. The box actually shrinks this year, and it shrinks even more in 2026, and it shrinks even more in 2027 when Manny is up to $39 million a year on his contract, and Tatis is up to 35 by that point. But inside the shrinking box, he continues to find maneuverability and room to improve his team.
Yeah, he executed what was asked of him this year, and I'm sure that they're going to go out and work to do that again next year. Will they hit on every guy or almost every guy that they did like they did this year? I don't know. Will every guy end up coming on? Every one of these fringe guys, everyone that's kind of like a 50-50, could go either way. Will every one of those hit the same way that they did this year? I don't know. That's going to be a thing that we're going to have to learn going forward, because that was kind of unusual and it worked out really well for them. For AJ Preller, though, he's got a contract through 2026. I would say his job is perfectly safe right now.
100%.
Yeah, he's coming back. And the good news is, and I think we've covered, on this show and on the station, is inside of the budget that he had and the $100 million being taken off the books, he got real creative and he found some really good moves to make. And so looking forward, I don't know that they're going to be able to keep all these guys that they got last year and they're going to be able to pay all this arbitration money. He might have to make some difficult moves like he did with Juan Soto, who is playing in the playoffs right now and who did hit a home run yesterday and who is an addition to any team that I think anybody would want, right? But he ended up getting pieces that they needed. This Padres team would not have been able to get through the season without the pieces that he got in that trade. So he might have to make some of those hard decisions again going forward with some of these guys. But you got to hope that they're hitting on him kind of the same way that they did this year.
Yeah, I think we'll just save the coaching staff for tomorrow and stick to
we have nothing but time.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. We've got 119 days till spring training. 119 topics on the wall, 119 topics. You take one down, you kick it around, 118 topics to go. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are. And I just made up that song all by myself.
Yeah.
Well done, Craig. That was good.
Sounds like another song about beer bottles. Or
it's similar.
Wheels on the bus or something like that.
It's bottles of beer. It's definitely bottles of beer. As a kid, I sang that song so many times. Have you ever actually seen 100 bottles of beer on the wall?
I can't say that I have. Maybe in a bar, and I didn't know it.
Usually, if you see bottles up on the wall, it's like liquor bottles.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like the top shelf and whatnot.
Yep.
Usually the beer bottles are in fridges down below. Seems antiquated to me. Why would you store your beer bottles on the wall?
You've seen it and you don't even know it.
Also, when you take down a beer bottle, do you really pass it around? Seems unhygienic. Feels like, a lot of lips touching that beer bottle at the same time.
Post-COVID, probably not doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've updated the song properly now. Just topics, kick them around. Okay, we return. Here's a note of caution. Never mind.
Oh, wow.
Wait, it's 11:50. What's going on? Yeah, okay.
The Gremlins want us. They want us off air.
The Odyssey computers.
The
Odyssey computers are right, literally. I thought Adam pressed a button from home.
Yeah.
He's like, get these clowns
break.
out of here. They're talking about kids' songs. Get them out. That was wild. Okay, here's a potential complication, and I like to have clear eyes going forward. The byproduct of trading out your virtually entire farm system.
That was what I was trying to get to in my head, and I forgot to say. They did, and you will know this best because you are more prospect friendly, right? They did trade away many prospects. Will he be able to replenish that? I believe he will, but maybe not so much this year, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, listen, we've said it many times. We'll say it again in case you haven't heard it before. A.J. Preller doesn't use his minor league system the way almost every other GM and organization uses their system. Almost every other system is designed to create low-cost, affordable talent with the hope of some of them developing into regulars, all-stars, superstars, right? The Padres use theirs as a battery. They use it very simply as the battery. Like, for example, when you are at the theme park with your cell phone and it's running low, and so you've got that battery that you just plug in and you charge it, right? And then the battery is depleted and you have to go recharge the battery. But what you need, your phone, is ready to go. That's what he does with his big league team. And every time you deplete the battery, it has to recharge. So the problem that A.J. Preller will have going into 2025 is that he doesn't have 12 prospects that other teams want in his farm system that he's going to be able to convert into 3 or 4 major league regulars that help the team. The guys he has in their system now are DeVries, Salas, and some other guys. So,
and I don't think those two are going anywhere.
No, they're not, but they're also not ready to contribute to the team in
Right.
2025. So we saw this all the other times he depleted the battery. 2020, depleted the battery. 2021, no minor league system to go to. Team collapses at the end of the year. They're signing veteran starting pitchers off the street in the last month to start for their team, like Jake Arrieta. 2022, deplete the battery. 2023, the team spent over the top to overcome the problem. They bought everything. They bought a DH for $6 million. They bought 2 starting pitchers, right? Lugo, Waka, like all of the moves they made. They paid the highest payroll in team history, but still didn't have much to trade away at the deadline. What did they wind up getting? G-Man Choi, right?
Yes.
And nothing happened. Nothing worked. 2024, though, battery is recharged. Drain the battery again. Now we're back into the same situation. The guys you drafted last year aren't high enough up that other teams are going to pay a major league price for them. The guys that you have now aren't developed in a way that is going to allow you to flip them for big league prospects. So you're in a much more difficult creative situation for AJ this year. How do you get creative to rebuild your team?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now they also know that Joe Musgrove is going to be out next season with the Tommy John surgery, rehabbing from that. So there's going to be some roster spots that they're going to need to look at. Now, the good news is, you know, he's able to do, we've seen him do this in the past and we've seen him get creative in the past. He's going to have less resources to do it with. And that's why I think some of these guys that maybe they have under control, if they choose not to pay arbitration, they might try to flip them for some more needs that they have. And I hate it, right? I mean, no one wants to see these guys go, but I don't think he's going to be working with a much higher payroll than what they had last year. And less guys in the farm. So
I hope they do, by the way.
Got to do something.
I hope they boost the payroll to $260 million next year.
I mean, look, they had good attendance. You know, they
sure
good,
did. They maximized their revenue.
They went to the postseason.
They maximized their revenue. Put it back in the team. You know what we'll do? Back with his fix next. Lunch hour has arrived on a Tuesday. Welcome back, everybody. Your midday hang halfway through. It's Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Heilbrunn and Braden Soprenet. My name is Craig Elsten. We roll with you every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And here at the midway point, we bring you all the sports news of the day, including the news that you could use but don't know quite yet on the 12 o'clock Sports Fix. It's all the news you need for October 15th, 2024, your 12 o'clock Sports Fix. And it gets it started taking a look at what's going on with our big league baseball.
All right, let's go to Philadelphia, where the Phillies have extended manager Rob Thompson through the 2026 season. President of Baseball Operations Dave Dombrowski announced today. Dombrowski also said the Phillies' entire coaching staff will return next season. The move comes 6 days after Philadelphia was eliminated in 4 games to the division rival New York Mets in the NLDS. Speaking of the Mets, outfielder Brandon Nimmo is 0 for 12 with 4 walks over his last 16 plate appearances. He was removed from both Game 1 of the NLCS for a pinch hitter and Game 2 for a defensive sub. Seems the issue is health-related, as he told The Athletic that he believes he re-aggravated a case of plantar fasciitis in his left foot during the 6th inning of Game 3 of the NLDS against the Phillies. Very specific, though. Like he said, yes.
In the 5th inning.
In the 5th inning, yeah. But obviously not good for him. It's a very painful injury. Nimmo said he has been playing through the injury since May, and the discomfort is really an issue when running. He said he's been able to hit and throw with relatively little problems. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. Clayton Kershaw has been watching the Dodgers playoff run from the dugout due to the bone spurs in his left big toe, which capped off an injury-marred season that saw him pitch a career-low 30 innings. Despite that, he told the Fox Sports pregame crew yesterday that he plans to return for his 18th Major League season. Kershaw underwent shoulder surgery procedure last November, and he said, "I want to make use of this surgery. I don't want to have surgery and then shut my arm down. So I'm going to come back next year, give it a go, and see how it goes."
I'm happy for Clayton Kershaw in the sense that he is obviously a Hall of Fame player, and it would stink to have your career end just injury, toe injury,
Yeah, the toe thing is like, come on.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he's right, like he did have the surgery, so you might as well give it a go and see if that fixed your arm problems at least, and hopefully fix your toe problem.
Once more unto the breach
Yes.
for Clayton Kershaw.
This winter, the 2 most high-profile jobs up for grabs are managerial gigs in Miami and on the south side of Chicago. Not sure who wants those, but the rumor mill has been relatively quiet regarding both the Marlins and White Sox plans so far, though a handful of candidates have seen their names floated already. It'll be a challenge for both future managers as the White Sox look to bounce back from the worst season in modern MLB history, and the Marlins plan to rebuild their entire coaching staff from the ground up. So you got to figure it's going to be guys who want the opportunity, right? First-time managers, or someone that maybe has been out of the game trying to get back into the game.
Or maybe like a super good pitching coach that would probably have some ambition to get a promotion. Padres, lock up Niebla now.
If he wants to be a manager. I'm not sure if Niebla does, but yes, I would imagine that there's people looking for him.
By the way, I just, and someone in the chat noted, Kershaw's 32 strikeouts from 3,000.
Wow, so maybe he wants to get to that
he's
number.
That's huge. That's gigantic to be. I think there's only 26 3,000 strikeout pitchers in history.
It was actually kind of cool. Jack Flaherty was asked about postseason pitchers, and he gave him a shout out after whatever, like Game 1 or I think of the NLCS. But he is, he's pretty iconic in what he's done for this game. But yeah, coming back for his 18th season, so you might as well.
19 pitchers have 3,000 strikeouts. 26 have 300 wins.
That's it, though.
Yeah, I used to have that memorized for Immaculate Grid.
Yeah, it's not a lot. And he could be part of that club.
For sure.
That's it. There's no Padres.
There's no Padres.
There's no closing Padres sports fix thing anymore.
The Yankees won Game 2 tonight, right?
I'm not throwing it to Braden for.
Yeah,
I'll
no
start
more
including
scores.
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
no more
the
scores.
No more
Yankees
scores.
won yesterday in Game 1 of the NLCS, and the Dodgers lost to the Mets. So that series is tied at 1-1. They will play again tomorrow. It's got to be Game 2 of the ALCS today, right? So
Yes. Game
All
2 today, and I believe Garrett Cole on the mound.
I will include that in tomorrow's fix going forward.
Absolutely. Well, now with an NFL Monday Night Score and all the gigantic NFL news, and it's definitely the biggest news of the day, here's Braden.
We got some college and NFL news. We'll start with the college news before we get to the two big stories in the National Football League. There's three big stories. We already covered one of them with Jerry Jones popping off on his local radio waves. But out in West Virginia coach Neil Brown is facing criticism over his recent comments aimed at the Mountaineers' frustrated fan base, whom he urged to continue supporting the team because of the, quote, good time they have at home games. West Virginia fell to 3-3 with Saturday night's nationally televised home loss to number 9 Iowa State. It was the 8th consecutive loss against a ranked opponent for the Mountaineers, who squandered an early lead against the undefeated Cyclones and failed to capitalize on the raucous environment at Millen-Pusker Stadium. With another primetime home game on tap for Saturday night, this time against number 17 Kansas State, Brown was asked Monday whether he had a message to fans who are upset with West Virginia's uneven performance this season. Quote, I get that they want to win, Brown said, but what I would say is, did they have a good time? Did they enjoy it? It was a pretty good atmosphere. You know, I'm assuming they probably had a good time tailgating.
Everything but the scoreboard.
Wow.
So if they're in the deal for enjoyment, then I would come back. I looked at the weather, and it's going to be nice again. It's a night game. We need them to provide home field advantage.
It's going to be nice out.
Since responded
tailgate.
angrily to Brown's comments, prompting the reporter who asked the question Monday to post on social media that, quote, he honestly didn't plan to stir anything up. I thought it was a simple question. Brown is 34-32 in his 5+ seasons at West Virginia. Mountaineers were a popular preseason pick to win the Big 12 this season after going 9-4 last year, their highest single-season win total since 2016. But West Virginia was routed by Penn State in its season opener, also suffered a 38-34 loss to rival Pitt last month. Fans are getting restless in Morgantown. As a fan, should you tolerate the whole, like, well, at least you're having a good time narrative from Brown, or is he really missing this?
Presser's gone wrong. Like, I thoroughly am starting to enjoy, like, by no fault of this reporter. I don't think he or she probably asked a bad question.
Fault.
Right.
It's definitely Coach Brown's fault.
I don't know that you should be pointing to having a good time if your team is losing.
Jerry Jones would like a word with that reporter.
Well,
I mean, you could want your fans to come back out and support. I guess I see that side of it.
I know, but you should. I feel
Probably
like the
say it in a
narrative
different
be like,
way.
hey, look, we're working on things. We're gonna be,
Right.
you know.
Exactly.
But just be like, why are they upset? Kind of attitude. I don't understand. That's been a lot recently in press conferences. Like, why are you upset? Like, why are we talking about the negative? They're having a good time. Who cares?
Look at your paycheck, bro. You're getting paid to win, not to
You're getting paid.
offer tailgate,
Yes.
a great tailgate environment.
It's Morgantown. What else are they going to do? They're going to go to the games anyway.
Yeah, literally.
yeah.
So
I think they'll still be out there.
Yeah, they're more upset that you're not playing. In fact, you better hope that they don't protest this next game because you guys not
Homie
getting the
brought
job
up
done.
the weather in West Virginia. Weather's nice.
The weather's going to be nice.
Weather's nice.
Morgantown weather
Wow.
Saturday. I'm curious what that would potentially be.
Is it only 42?
73.
Okay, it is going to be nice. You know,
with
maybe
a
you should
low
go to the
of
game.
37.
Sounds great. Honestly,
Maybe you
it
should
really
go to
does.
the game.
Maybe you should go to the game.
And
you know what?
Who doesn't love tailgating?
I do.
They're looking for an excuse to burn a couch, and they haven't yet. So take that for what it's worth. Buffalo Bills have acquired Amari Cooper in a trade Tuesday with the Cleveland Browns, adding a true number one to star quarterback Josh Allen's weaponry. The Bills received Cooper and a 2025 6th-round draft pick for a 2025 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round selection in 2026. Cooper is 30 years old, fills the number one receiver void for the Bills that was opened when Buffalo traded Stephon Diggs to the Texans before the season. Bills completed the deal hours after their AFC East rivals, the New York Jets, made their own blockbuster trade for wide receiver when they acquired Devontae Adams for the Raiders. Let's talk about that trade. Determined to save their season from ruin and preserve their hopes of ending a half-century Super Bowl drought. Oh, really? That's in the...
Not
Really?
going to happen. Yeah.
New York Jets made a blockbuster trade for star wideout Davante Adams. Raiders received a conditional third-round draft pick in the trade. That pick would improve to a second-round selection, according to Adam Schefter, if Adams is a first or second all-team pro this season or is on the Jets' active roster for the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. Don't hold your breath, Raiders fans. Adams took a red-eye flight to New Jersey early Tuesday morning with the deal basically in place, took the physical to finalize the trade. Jets are assuming the balance of Adams' remaining salary, a source told Schefter. Adams' salary for the season is $17.5 million, with approximately $11.59 million still owed through the end of the season. And while he is under contract for 2025 and 2026, his annual salary jumps to $36 million for each of those seasons. Raiders will carry a dead cap charge of $13 million in 2024, $15 million in 2025, according to SportTrack.com. Trade reunites Adams with quarterback Aaron Rodgers in the hopes of recreating one of the most dangerous duos in recent NFL history. Davante Adams only likes playing for quarterbacks that he has played with in the past. Aaron Rodgers and his college quarterback, Derek Carr. Interesting moves for the NFL.
He said that he went to dinner with Aaron Rodgers for like 4 hours. They chopped it up.
This last night?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
He
sure.
flew there this morning.
Maybe it was to talk
Bi-week
about it
stuff?
at some point. Yeah, maybe it was like over the off season. I don't really know. It's via Netflix. Oh no, it must have been was he part of the Receiver show? Or
I'm sure he
I bet he
was.
was. Yeah, this was via Netflix. So this must have been from the
Thanks,
show.
Netflix.
Thanks, Netflix. Mm-hmm.
That it?
Yes.
That's it?
Those are the
All
two
right.
biggest stories.
Those are,
in the
no, I mean,
National
they're
Football
gigantic
League.
stories. Absolutely gigantic stories. Here we go with the rest of the stories then to wrap up the fix. We will start this afternoon in the NBA. Just 1 week away from opening night, guys. 1 week away. Philadelphia 76ers forward Paul George left the Sixers preseason game Monday night with a hyperextended left knee. George said afterwards he'll be okay. Well, that's something he said plenty of times. Paul George has been injured a lot in his career. Has to at least be a question mark heading into the opener. 7 preseason games tonight, including the Lakers hosting Golden State, which means Steph Curry, LeBron James, the two aging Warriors. Well, they'll get at least 15 minutes of time in this game. The U.S. men's national team is in Guadalajara this evening, taking on Mexico at Estadio Akron. The Mexican side is in disarray under head coach Javier Aguirre, who is coaching the team for the third time. And he is also the 4th sideline boss in 2 years for El Tri. As such, even though this is a meaningless friendly, it feels much winny for Mexico and Aguirre as he faces an American team missing 9 starters on Mexican soil. The match is on TNT and Max tonight. You can watch it at 7:30. Thomas Tuchel is set to become England's new manager after agreeing to a deal with the Football Association, reported by the Times of London yesterday. Tuchel is 51. He has been out of work since leaving Bayern Munich at the end of last season. The German would become just the 3rd foreign manager of England's soccer team, following Sven-Goran Eriksson and Fabio Capello. 9 games in the NHL last night, none involving Southern California teams. Yesterday, the Kings and Ottawa Senators played an 80s-style score fest. Sens coming out on top in overtime, 8-7. That must have been a fun game to watch.
I was wondering how Thomas Tuchel was doing.
Me
So
too.
I'm glad to hear the update.
Yeah, the Tuchel. No trouble with Tuchel. He's tucked in England.
It's all good.
And there it is, your 12 o'clock sports fix for Tuesday, October 15th. Always wanted to know about Tommy Tux.
Good old Tommy Tuchel, yeah.
Good old Tommy Tux. He is there. He is all set. Okay. When we come back on the show, a couple of different topics for you, including San Diego State. Could have had, could have been, didn't want.
For some ungodly known reason.
Well, nothing's for free.
Yeah, but this kind of was.
It kind of was.
Beware of the free. Don't you hear that growing up? I mean, my parents told me that. My dad.
Yeah.
Nothing in life's for free.
Well,
For free.
except for this brand new state-of-the-art stadium.
They were just going to plop down there.
Boop, here you go. We'll talk about it when we come back. Plus, I've got this clip. I think you don't have to like the NBA at all to love this clip. A completely wildly awkward live TV moment
Oh, it's great.
on
I love
NBA
those.
TV between two friends who decided they'd start clowning on each other, and then did it get a little too serious, a little too close to the vest? Well, we'll give that to you, so stay right here. Plus, match game coming up as the hour continues. A real fun hour of Annie and Elsten, and this timeout is just a brief break from that, so stay right there on 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back, 1221 on the Fan. All right, football fans, listen up. Need that extra edge for game day? Then you need to cash the ticket. The numbers, the angles, the other stuff, the podcast for football junkies. New episodes every Thursday and Friday. Mike Valenti and Jim Costa breaking down the biggest matchups and finding the best value on the board every week. Cash the Ticket's the podcast to help you bet smarter on pro and college games. Follow Cash the Ticket on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay. Andy and Elsten, here we go. Interesting story. It was a subscriber-only story in the Union Tribune, so if you don't have a subscription, this will be news to you. But there were rumors. I think we had heard stuff even years ago, like kind of,
did.
Right? Whispers,
Yes.
rumors. Hey, go ahead.
I heard rumors about they were going to redo Viejas. I heard rumors about a new arena that they had
There were a
kind of
lot of
secretly
options.
working on, especially after they went to the Final Four. It started to...
Yes. And Jennifer Van Grove of the UT does just a terrific job covering this.
Yes, and
We're referring to her article.
yeah, we are indeed Jennifer Van Grove's article, and we're efforting to get her on the program a little bit later this week as well. But as happens in the world of journalism, these giant institutions, especially state institutions, they want to keep everything quiet, but because they are state institutions, they are not allowed by law to keep everything quiet. Things such as public records requests can be filed by journalistic institutions to force a place like Cal State University, like San Diego State University, to release something that they don't feel like they really particularly want to. Well, that was the case here. The UT had a public records request that took a while to get resolved, but they got the thing. And what that thing was is a document that a development company called the Oak View Group sent to San Diego State December of 2021.
And the Oakview Group, well, the way Jen describes it, is a powerhouse sports and entertainment venue developer. So a group that has done this before.
Yes.
Not like some just out of nowhere group.
Which they operate the Moody Center
Right.
at Texas at Austin. And
Correct.
It's
that
very
is
successful, right?
Super nice.
Yeah.
They made that thing legit in Austin, Texas.
And just as a side note, when the Chargers left and this land, remember how it was like, we can't build on this land. We can't build on this land.
Yeah.
And then you have these developers come forward. And by the way, they did build on the land with Snapdragon. But
Yes.
regardless, you could have always built on this land. But anyways, I digress.
They built that thing pretty quickly, too. by the way.
They did very
Yeah, I mean,
quickly,
you see
actually.
the shark, not sharks, I call them sharks, but you see the other entities that were like, hey, let us come in and do this. We'll have no problems.
Right.
Or some problems probably with environmental concerns. But anyways, then no problems.
Of course. So just as a little bit more shedding of the light, this Oak View Group, its founder is Tim Leiweke. And if you remember that name, Tim Leiweke, one of the best, most successful sports executives of the last 40 years, the man who created Staples Center, the man who helped bring hockey back to see. Tim Leiweke has been everywhere. He has been a gigantic, gigantic figure in the world of sports. By the way, way back when he was a very young man, he was involved with the San Diego Sockers
Hey.
of the major
Started-
indoor soccer league.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
all the way back to the 1980s. Just
Some ties.
a little thing there. But yeah, this group, Oakview Group, built Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, and as Braden said, they had a perfectly simpatico deal with the University of Texas. Texas at Austin is what, but that's
It's
UT, the Longhorns,
Yes.
the Burnt Orange.
Probably the most lucrative school in the United States when it comes to their sports.
Yes. So Oakview Group built the Moody Center, this brand new state-of-the-art 16,000-seat arena on the campus of University of Texas at Austin. It was entirely privately financed, and what the university had to give up was just leasing the ground that it's on. Just basically lease us the ground, we'll build the arena for you, and then we'll literally give it to you.
They donated it back.
And we'll manage it.
And so they would profit. There's got to be a way that they profit, right? So they would profit off of
They manage the arena.
leasing of.
Well, no, they just get the ground. They get the ground for cheap, but they manage the arena.
They
so.
manage the
They
arena.
manage the arena. Okay, so they
and
would
then
get the
the
money coming in
Aztecs
from
get
that.
the land. So since they
Okay.
own the land, it's like the McDonald's thing,
Yeah.
right? So like the franchisees, they own the McDonald's,
Right.
but McDonald's owns the land, so they charge the rent for the property
Mm-hmm.
for using the property, but that group owns the building. So that's how they make their money. Is they own the building and they can bring in whatever they want, right? And I'm sure they make a deal with San Diego State to play there, but San Diego State owns the property.
Correct.
Which means they would get revenue back from, but they don't have a say in probably who goes there. That's the leeway here is both sides win with money, but let's let the pros run the arena instead of letting like the student government run the arena.
Now, here's something that's interesting to me within this article, which is that this proposal got to SDSU affiliates, meaning it got to like developers, but it didn't.
JMI.
Right. It got to Eric Judson.
Yes.
Exactly. It got to JMI, but it did not get to the desk of President Adela de la Torre. At least that's what they're saying. University executives quoted saying that she had not seen the document before Monday, which is
yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. I don't believe that, but
Or it may have just been killed by JMI.
Or JMI's like, oh, we're not interested. Don't
Yeah,
show
'cause they
this.
wanna
Don't
develop.
show this to San Diego State.
yeah, because they want to develop it
Right. Which
themselves.
could be the deal.
Maybe so. But here's what Gina Jacobs, SDSU executive in charge of development at the Mission Valley campus, said of this, quote, "We are aware that there have been conversations about an arena at SDSU Mission Valley, and we've been adamant that it doesn't fit into our master plan. It's inconsistent with the vision we have for the site. We don't need a new arena. We want to improve our existing arena."
You need a new arena.
And Oakview was part of the Midway Village Plus sports arena proposal for the actual sports arena.
Right.
But they lost that proposal. So
Right.
then they kind of pivoted.
Because they didn't fund Mayor Gloria's little deal.
Right. They cited antitrust concerns. So that actually didn't even lose it. They backed out of it. Oakview did. So, yeah.
Development team, which was still negotiating the lease and deal terms of the city, is proposing a 16,000 replace. Oh, that's the Midway Rising deal.
I mean, it would be good to have Jennifer on the show to talk about it. But listen, I mean, ultimately, would the end product have been awesome to have an arena next to the stadium? So Snapdragon Stadium would have been built, and then there would have been this arena built next door to it, or in that
basically that parking lot.
Exactly.
Right.
And would that have been really cool for sports in San Diego?
And right next to
For
the
sure.
trolley. Literally right next to the trolley where you
right.
could get dropped off and walk into the arena.
The one that was most notable, 16,000 seats.
Yes. Guess
which
what
is
that
like the bare minimum. The bare minimum. It probably could have been a little bit more, but that is the bare minimum for an NBA or an NHL franchise
And
with 40 suites,
Yeah.
which is what they need,
Which is what-
and
yeah.
2,000 club seats and everything that you would need to have a professional franchise. And by the way, you're at the San Diego State Aztecs could call it home. And in the meantime, San Diego State could be your NBA level team.
it sounds like, though, they didn't. So they're saying, SDSU is saying, we didn't want it because it didn't fit the plan of
Their
the
academic
other
plan with all their
things that
other
they want to put on that
stuff.
Snapdragon
the
site.
Innovation
Right.
District.
Yeah.
That's what they the current plan for this area, 1.6 million square feet of office and research space in an innovation district, 400 hotel rooms, and 95,000 square feet of campus shops. So, in other words, different development that one developer probably already has a deal for and doesn't want some other guy to come in with their own deal,
Nosing around.
snap up that space. But in the end, what's lost for us is the value of having a brand new state-of-the-art arena put in the heart of the city of San Diego, where it should be, as opposed to on any corner of the county, and it would have been able to benefit San Diego State University. They would have received all of these incredible benefits for no cost whatsoever, other than, hey, you can't use. And that's the thing. That's the thing, right, Annie? It's not no cost. It's the opportunity cost of what else you can do and what other money you can make with that very same land.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it as we were joking about before the break, nothing's for free, right? But it does sound appealing for sure. You know, I mean, you don't get the headache even of having to build it, and you don't get the headache of necessarily having to run it. You'd still have Snapdragon. You might have the competition of maybe competing against that with the maybe what you want to bring in for Snapdragon and concerts and I don't know, things like that. But
here's the pros, right? You don't have to worry about building it or funding the building. You own the land that it sits on because they're going to give they donate the land back. So you still get the revenue from this arena and certain deal. You don't have to fill it, and the people that are used to filling arenas will be in charge of filling that arena with multiple events. So you don't have to worry about that. That's another headache. And by the way, you own the land surrounding the arena. That's where all these guys make all their money, is owning all of the other things around the arena. When people show up to go to the event, it's the stuff around the event. Just like you see downtown with Petco Park and the surrounding area of who owns all of those buildings. The former Padres owner that owns all those buildings out there and all the area around it.
And
that's
makes a
where
lot
you make
of money off of that.
A ton of money where you don't have to do anything. San Diego
Which is
State.
very smart. Yeah,
I don't understand why they were like.
Sometimes it's like the whole bedfellows thing too, right? Like who do you want to get into bed with, and is it a deal? Like maybe there were things that they thought were not going to be good for them, but it would have been cool. I will say that it would have been cool to have a central hub. And like you said, right off the trolley and for students and everything like that, because they do need a new arena.
They need
I don't
a new
care
arena
what.
Bad.
100%.
I mean, they need a new arena. You know that arena probably better than
the sports arena.
They need a new sports arena.
Well, the sports arena is bad, but then you could have killed two birds with one stone and had one major arena. And
that's the thing, Braden. That's the key.
Why don't you turn that old arena grounds like Viejas Arena into academic buildings, so then you don't have to have kids get on a trolley to go to the academic stuff. I mean, you have that land over there at San Diego State. You could develop into whatever you want.
You certainly could, but I mean, the last kind of nail in this coffin is that this was not the city's plan. Todd Gloria's plan is for the Midway District to be completely rebuilt with low-income housing, with new development of shops and retail, and with a new arena, right? And that's what that Kroenke group won the contract for. But the merry-go-round on Midway is multiple years deep now, where they had the battle and then they had the rebattle and now
Battle of the Midway.
I mean, seriously, and then they've been
War of the Midway.
competing plans and plans on plans, and we've still just got the same old arena.
And then
over
they
there.
said, okay, we're going to do this plan and we're going to have housing there as well. But I believe the housing they just backed out of, or some kind of something that was part of this plan. Now they're like, no, that's not going to be part of the plan, which now has raised all kinds of questions about was that the plan all along, and did it just kind of get manipulated? And
Can we please get some type of forward thinking in this town? I mean, at anybody in charge, can we get some type of forward thinking instead of just just going to be a little San Diego over here. We're just a small military town. We don't want to do that. Is everybody on vacation? Does anybody work here? Does anybody work here?
This is just a giant missed opportunity to me that comes through based on, this interest group, that interest group, this political campaign, this housing
unbelievable,
this retail campaign, and in the end we get nothing.
And everyone does have an agenda. I mean, you got to come in, right? Your agenda is usually to make money, right?
Yeah, make yourself as much money as possible.
But it doesn't mean that there can't be some cool things built for the city in the process. As long as it's done in a smart way or a way that
zero vision.
Just That's why I don't foresee. I mean, we've talked about
vision.
Why the NHL and why the NBA probably wouldn't come to San Diego anyways, because of the affiliates they already have in Los Angeles. But the other problem is you don't have the infrastructure.
That's it.
Zero vision by the powers that be in this town in many different levels.
Let's take a time out. When we come back, it's our favorite silly game of the week. It's time to assemble the all-star panel to play the match game. And today's prize is a pair of tickets to see Parker McCollum at Cal Coast Credit Union Open Air Theater on October 25th, just 10 days from now. Limited tickets remain at Ticketmaster.com. So we need. Yes?
I did get a little insight just now.
Yeah, what is it?
Do we have like 2 minutes on the arena still?
Yeah, we have 2 minutes.
Okay. The footprint really isn't big enough for an arena south of Snapdragon, which is where it would have gone. And when voters approved the SDSU Mission Valley project in 2018, the plan included the Innovation District as part of it. So they weren't going to legally blow that out because it was approved by the voters to be able to put in an arena. So it was kind of told to me like it was essentially like putting a Disneyland there. Like it was a pipe dream. So again, would have been really cool, but probably not like logistically or legally maybe possible after the fact.
Fair enough. Where there's a will, there's a way.
There is, and maybe it should have been thought about before things went to where they went, but here we are in San Diego.
Indeed. Well, here's our number, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Give us a call. We need 2 contestants who will be going head-to-head to try and match our all-star panel on the match game coming up next. So let's take a break. Let's get it going, and we come back to play silly games when we return. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. We have mapped out the right amount of time to get this game in today. This might be the first time that we've actually given ourselves enough time to play the match game and get out at the prescribed time window.
Off-season match game.
Off-season match game in full effect.
Indeed. So we have our contestants lined up. It's time to get ready to match the stars. Annie Heilbrunn.
Hello.
Matt Scraby.
Hello!
You look like you're underwater.
Yeah,
on
this
the-
looks brutal.
What is going on?
Your internet sucks, my guy.
On the red, Greg.
Heyo!
And Braden Soprano.
What's up?
I'm your host, Gene Rayburn, and this is Match Game 97.3, where you get to match the stars in exchange for great prizes. We have two contestants on the line getting ready to play today. Contestant number one, an old friend, it's Alex in Cardiff. Hello, Alex. Welcome to the match game.
Hello, how are you, Craig?
Doing great, Alex. As everyone unscrews their dry erase caps over there.
So loud.
Yeah, it's really squeaky and loud. Yeah. Alex, remind the audience a little bit about yourself.
I've been surfing lately. The waves have been pretty good. Having a lot of fun doing that.
Did you see Kyle Higashioka
I
out
was
there?
about to say the
He was
same
out
thing.
there, it sounds like, yesterday with some people.
No, but I saw Jonah Hill.
All right.
Oh, Jonah Hill. Wow.
That's a good trade-off there.
Well, Alex, today you are going head-to-head with Robert in Santee. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the match game.
Hey, how's it going?
Going great, Robert. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
I'm Robert. I'm from Santee, Padres fan, and so I would say right now, let's go Mets.
Let's
All right,
let's go
Robert.
Mets. F-A and do. Okay.
Already?
Every time I hear "Let's Go Mets," I
and
just
the
think
Jets.
about that. Their old sting.
Meet the Mets.
Beat the Mets. Oh, they don't actually say "beat the Mets."
What is happening?
You've never heard
Anyways.
of the Meet the Mets song?
This is like the time that Annie said she wanted fake skin.
Meet
Yes.
the Mets.
That's
Meet
what I
the
took
Mets.
away from that
For
game
$12
as well.
on Amazon.
That Eddie purchases fake skin. That's what I took away from it too. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did too. Okay, guys, how did Alex get hung up
80-year-old
on?
skin?
Alex just hung up.
20-year-old skin. Alex probably was freaked out by
Alex, call
all of
back.
it.
Yeah, Alex, call back now. So this is the match game. This is the way it works. We've got 2 rounds where each of our contestants receive 1 question apiece. We're going to read. There comes Alex again, Braden.
Alex.
We're going to read the prompt. We're going to play the silly music. And then our panelists write down their best possible answer while the contestant remains silent. Then I come back to you, read the question again, and get your answer. We go back and forth through the panel and find out for every match you get a point at the end of 2 rounds and a possible tiebreaker. Whoever has the most points gets today's prize. And today's prize, once again, a pair of tickets to see Parker McCollum at Cal Coast Credit Union Open Air Theater, October 25th. Limited tickets remain at Ticketmaster.com. Okay, Alex, you did call in first, even though for some reason you dropped, but now you're back. You are contestant number 1. So in round number 1, you get the opportunity to select question A or question B.
All right, I'll go for B.
He's going for B. Before we begin, let's remind the audience that all characters appearing on Match Game 97.3 are 100% and entirely fictitious, even if they have names that sound very similar to somebody you might know or somebody that you might be in the room. Believe me, it's entirely coincidental. Okay.
All right.
With that, Alex, panelists, round 1, question B. Let's lock in. Super Hannah said, Woodsy, I know you're a showman, but do we have to have a blank in the bedroom?
Wait, can you repeat it, please?
Of course. Super Hannah said, Woodsy, I know you're a showman, but do we have to have a blank in the bedroom?
So many things.
So many things. So many options. Panelists will let me know verbally when they have completed their answers.
Complete.
There's 1.
Got one.
There's 2.
Complete.
That's 3.
Okay, complete.
All right. All right.
I think Greg's is great.
Here we go. Alex, now I read it for you, my friend. Super Hannah said, Woodsy, I know you're a showman, but do we have to have a blank in the bedroom?
Trophy.
This is
trophy.
good.
Well, she's the trophy wife already. Is that what the trophy is? Okay, good question. All right, Alex, let's see what you get. We'll start with
You know
Annie
where I went,
Heilbronn.
Alex, I went with batting cage for his bat.
That's actually really good.
So,
I went boring and I said radio studio.
Fair enough. Okay. All
I
right.
almost said the same thing as Annie, but I decided to go with pitching machine.
Pitching machine. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa, with a camera.
Yeah. Thank you. A
Camera.
Yeah, a camera. A
Showman. Camera.
He's a showman. Yeah, he wants to put on a show.
The greatest showman.
Yeah, camera, microphone.
movie.
You know. Oh, I don't know if he's the greatest showman.
He's Hugh Jackman.
Ask Super Hannah about that.
Pause.
All right. No matches that time, Alex, but that's okay. Round one is always very tough. Robert, it is your turn now. You will be getting question A. So I'm about to read the prompt. Don't say anything until I come back to you. Panelists, round one, question A. Lock in. Silly Scraby said, my apartment is such a dump.
How much of a dump is
How
it?
dumpy is it?
something about a dump.
It's such a dump. It's such a dump. Instead of wallpaper, the walls are covered with blank paper.
Oh, gosh.
Just look around.
Easy.
Silly Scraby said, my apartment is such a dump. Instead of wallpaper, the walls are covered with blank paper.
Done.
Braden's done.
Done.
Andy's done. Matt's done. Greg's done.
That's good.
Robert, it's your turn, my friend. Silly Scraby
I'll
said,
pay.
my apartment's such a dump. Instead of wallpaper, the walls are covered with blank paper.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
That's a good answer.
That's a very
I know.
Great
I
answer.
said, because if I would have
Actually.
thought of that, I would have wrote it down. I put trash paper, like, you. Never mind.
Trash paper.
Thank
What
you,
paper is trash?
The trashy
you take
stuff.
it out of the trash and you decorate on the walls or something.
like
like,
But that was some other type of
hamburger
paper.
wrappers?
Hey, let me ask you this: where can I buy trash paper, Annie?
Wrapping paper, Scrapes.
That's wrapping
I didn't realize
paper.
that's
It
actual
acts
paper.
as wallpaper.
It does. It does.
I
Greg?
opted for tissue.
That's
Tissue paper. Tissue paper.
That's
Oh,
pretty
that's
close,
kind of-
yeah.
It's not because I put toilet paper.
Oh, there it is. There it is. That's
Good
what a
job.
match looks like.
Brayden understood the assignment.
That's
right.
what a match looks like.
We're gonna have
Right
Scravy go to
there.
the Walmart down here and ask for, can I buy some trash paper?
Just see what happens. See
Can
what
I
they
have
give
some
you.
trash paper and fake skin, please?
It's like going to AutoZone and trying to buy some elbow grease.
Oh, Lord.
What you asked for.
At the end of round one, the score is Robert 1, Alex 0.
Wow.
Okay, Robert, because you were contestant number 2, you get the option in round 2. Would you like question A or question B?
Go with question A again.
Question A it is. Round 2, question A. Panelists, lock in. Java Joe said, my surgeon used to be a tailor. He asked if I wanted my elbow scar with or without blank. Java Joe said, my surgeon used to be a tailor. He asked if I wanted my elbow scar with or without blank. By the way, these questions are modified from original Match Game 76 questions that I spent a goodly portion of last evening watching. Sitting in bed, watching Match Game 76 reruns.
Man.
And
I would just ask ChatGPT if I were you. I would get to that point.
you know, nah, you gotta have the OG.
All right.
You gotta have the originality, you know?
I'm ready.
Okay, everybody's ready? Everybody's ready? Trash paper's ready? Everyone's ready?
Trash paper's ready.
Okay.
I think we learned more about Annie in this segment.
We really do. We
great.
do.
Pretty sure we had some trash paper decorations
Mr.
in
Cow.
my house growing up.
All right, Robert, it's your turn. Java Joe said, my surgeon used to be a tailor. He asked if I wanted my elbow scar with or without
A cuff.
a cuff. Yeah,
Oh, I like that.
okay. Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Scars are always cool. And with a cuff, I put gold threads, like stitched like with gold.
Yeah.
Like, for Padres color.
For sure.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Gold
Yeah.
thread,
Padres
yeah.
gold thread.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I said
Right.
stitching as well, like a baseball.
Yeah, like a baseball.
I mean,
Or a pair
I
of
mean, I
pants.
have
All
I
scars have
got
stitching?
shoulder surgery, and my scar has stitching. So.
Scars are cool.
yeah.
They are.
Greg.
I didn't go with anything baseball. I just said buttons.
Buttons,
I like
exactly.
that.
It's a tailor, right.
That's what I was going
Buttons is a
for.
perfectly good answer. A cuff is a good answer. A frill, lace. What do you got?
Inseam.
Inseam. There you go.
Inseam.
There you go. Great stuff. Unfortunately, no match for Robert, which means the door is open for you, Alex. It's 1-0. If you can get at least one match, you extend the game, and if you get two, you win. Panelists, here we go with round 2, question B. At the picnic, one ant said to the other, "Want to do something neat? Let's go blank on the Jell-O." This is a literal
what?
1976 question. At the picnic, one ant said to the other ant, "Want to do something neat? Let's go blank on the Jell-O."
Like an ant, like an uncle, or like an
No,
ant, like
ant,
an animal?
A-N-T,
Okay.
ant, like a little,
like a little
An insect.
ant.
Insect.
Yeah, insect, ant. Yeah,
Okay.
not Aunt Marie or Aunt.
Aunt Marie and Aunt Jody out
Yeah.
there messing around with the Jello
I
again.
mean, although it's kind of funny too. There
That's
is always
right.
room for Jell-O, Greg. That's a great point. At the picnic, one ant, wriggling tiny creature
Done.
ant, said to the other,
Done.
"Want to do something neat? Let's go blank on the Jell-O." Everyone. Yeah, it's true.
Like 100 times their body weight,
Dude,
right?
ants are amazing. No, they are. They have like little colonies, and they have a queen ant,
Yeah.
and then the scavenger ants go.
No, they are.
And
very-
then like they have the dead ant side. They have like a little graveyard for the ants. Like they run a whole operation.
Did you have an ant?
We were
ant
on
thing
we,
when you were a kid.
we were on time.
I didn't. I
We
had
were
to
on
kill
time.
some
We're not on
ants,
time
and I
anymore.
felt bad
We
about
used to
it.
be on
And I
time.
learned about ants in the process, and I still had to kill them, but they are amazing.
I'm sorry.
They are.
Okay.
They are.
Let's.
And they can lift a lot of
I'm-
yellow.
Also, if
Back
you
to
want
Al-
to get freaked out, this is my friend told me this.
Yeah.
Google ant face close up. Like
Ant face
you
close
will
up?
see what they look like
Sorry,
close up.
I missed everything Annie just said. I
You
was
will-
ordering trash
you will have
paper on
nightmares.
Amazon.
Yeah.
What? Can you repeat that, please?
You need an ant farm. And do you have an
Ant
ant
Like
farm?
podcast.
pet ants. Yeah.
Lock in.
Ant podcast.
Oh, my Lord. All right, everyone's got their answer. It's back to you, Alex. The game's on the line. At the picnic, one ant said to the other, "Want to do something neat? Let's go blank on the Jell-O." What you got for us?
Bounce.
Bounce.
No, that's such a good
Yeah,
answer.
just
It's not my answer.
Boing,
but
boing,
so
boing.
good.
Okay, we need one to tie, two to win.
I said feast.
Just go feast on it.
Feast.
Yeah, okay.
Ant.
I
Scrapes.
said eat stuffed faces.
Eat stuffed faces. Yeah, just stuff our faces in the Jell-O.
Oddly specific.
I went with the ants march.
March.
2 by 2.
Yes.
In this case.
Okay, let's go march on the Jell-O.
I see what you did there.
All right.
This
Need
is
a
for the game.
Need a judge's.
It's for the game.
I put jump.
That's a bounce.
That's
that
a
gonna
bounce.
count?
Wow.
Doggone it, that's a bounce.
Wow.
I was perfectly ready to end the hour, but that's a bounce. That means we go to the
Bouncy
tiebreaker.
housey.
That
Oh,
means we
wait,
go to
whoa,
the
we're not
tiebreaker.
Wow. We
Okay.
got free match game.
Let's go. Free match game. All right. Panelists,
Free
this is
match
going to
game.
be your best answer to a one-word response or phrase. Alex, you're going to go first. And panelists, we're looking for your best answer to roast blank. Roast blank.
Oh, I don't know why this popped in my head, but there we go.
Okay.
Done.
Oh, that's
Done.
more normal.
Done. And
Okay, done.
done. Alex, your best answer to roast blank.
Beef.
Roast beef. Absolutely. Annie?
Roast chicken.
Roast chicken
Okay.
is also good.
I don't think I've ever had roast duck in my life. But
Roast
there you go.
duck.
Wow, you're very
Roast
fancy.
beef.
Thank
Hey.
you.
Wow.
And Braden.
I put the Grinch version of roast beast, but
Roast
it is
beef.
beast.
All
But that's
right.
beef. That's beef. That's two. That's two for Alex
Wow.
on the tiebreaker.
Wow.
Okay, Robert, your back's against the wall. Stay right there. Panelists, I need your best answer to
Oh, wait.
blank killer.
Okay.
Blank killer. Here they come. They're erasing their old answer.
Got it.
Got it.
I'm done.
It's like my easiest one.
And Greg. Okay, Robert, it's back to you. Your best answer to blank killer.
Oh, for sure.
Dodger.
Dodger
Oh, such a
killer.
good answer.
Nice.
That is a good answer.
That's
But
a
can
great-
you get 3?
I just said
Cold-blooded
cold-blooded.
killer. Matt says,
Padre killer.
which is the opposite.
Boo.
I was thinking of Charlie
Cereal.
Blackman.
Yeah, serial killer. I like to kill a cereal myself or 2.
I almost spelled it with a C.
Guys killing some
Cinnamon
Fruit Loops
Toast
over
Crunch,
there.
Yeah. And Braden, even though the game's over, what do you got?
Dodger killer.
Dodger
Hey!
killer. Oh, 1. But it's 2-1. It's 2-1. So with a 2-1 score in the tiebreaker, Alex, you are the champion today. Congratulations, sir. You will be getting a pair of tickets to see Parker McCollum at Cal Coast Credit Union Open Air Theater. Congratulations and well played on the game today, Alex.
Greg, do you want to sing any of Parker McCollum before we?
Actually, I was going to say I'll actually be hosting that show.
Oh!
So
Yeah, all right.
Show not this next Friday night. We're going to have a good time.
Amazing.
This guy's famous.
He is famous.
Great stuff. Scraby, looking forward to the Scraby show tonight.
Ah,
Yes.
yes, we're in off-season mode.
Beautiful. Greg, wonderful stuff as always.
Thank you for having me.
Annie and Braden and I will be right back with our number 4 of Annie and Elsten on the Fan.
On the Fan.
Welcome back, everybody. 105 back for the final hour of our get-together. It's Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The match game in the rearview mirror now.
It was a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Big thanks to On the Red Greg, who's always here. Matt Scraby made sure to get in on time. Appreciate you guys. Always love getting the All-Star panel back together again. It makes it worth that hour of watching the match game reruns.
You love to watch the match game reruns.
I enjoy
Brendan,
it.
do you think for a second that he doesn't love watching match game reruns?
No, I guarantee he enjoys every second of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike it. That's for sure. I don't dislike it. It's good. It's good. You know, it's one of those tiny sacrifices.
Oh, yes. Yes.
For the betterment
That
of the
you
show.
actually really like. Yes.
Right. For the betterment of the show. I do it for the show. I mean, I could have just chat GPT'd it, right?
It wouldn't have been the same.
Could have let AI,
Yeah.
but then we don't get the 1976 sensibility of the questions.
It's not as creative.
I do run into people who tell me that they used to watch the show and how risque it was at that time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, when they did the you're a showman, but the blank in the bedroom, I mean, it was...
Sure, the answers were great.
Cameras, mirrors, you know, film director. Like, those were the kind of answers that that Richard Dawson and friends gave back in the day. Charles Nelson Riley and Brett Summers. Okay, hitting reset on the program. It's a show in transition. Once again, 119 days till spring training. Still tons of baseball coverage for you here on Annie and Elsten. We started our review of the Padres season earlier in the show. You can go back and catch that in the 11 a.m. hour. We focused on the executive suite today. Group Dog, A.J. Preller, Kutsenda, how that all worked out from the top down. Tomorrow we'll get into the coaching staff, Mike Schilt, Niebla, Rodriguez, guys who I think will all get some pretty high grades around here. Not that we're actually grading. But we'll probably get some high words and praise around here. We'll keep on moving. We'll get into position groups. We will get into free agents.
Yeah, I mean, the free agent market is really going to be affected, like we talked about earlier, once the World Series is done.
Yes.
Right now, you can talk about some of the guys that are available, but until these games are over, you don't really you don't have a totally on par grasp of the market yet.
Right. Absolutely. So all of that to come in the days, weeks, and literally months ahead. We're going to keep our eyes on this Padres franchise who, the deeper we get into this, the more we will realize that 2025 is this really interesting kind of confluence of a very talented team that should have a lot of togetherness, should have an incredible base to build upon that they created in 2024, right? 93 wins, playoff experience, then the bitter taste of being eliminated by your rival when you had the lead in the series. So all of that should be incredible motivation for 2025. But within that, you have a payroll that grew overnight without adding anybody. So you've really got some very tricky situations. I'll just say, without getting too deep into it, Annie, I believe that at least one player from this team will be traded off this team. Not allowed to leave in free agency, but an existing player under contract for 2025 or beyond. I believe at least one of them will be dealt this winter in an attempt to keep the ship going at full speed.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, and they'll also be looking at some of the players who made an impact on this year's team, maybe weren't starters, but could be starters in the future, or guys who are maybe a little bit more on the fringes that they think could be ready to come up, that could fill some gaps financially for them. And at the same time, perhaps trading someone that, look, anybody they trade is going to be a bummer probably, in the sense of like, this team was a really good team that was really connected, really together. Everybody played their part. Everybody did a great job. So it's really going to come down to that front office thinking along the lines of Juan Soto. Obviously not that caliber necessarily of that kind of a superstar, but along the lines of, hey, what can we get in return that might help us in like 4 other areas? And can we get by without this guy? Which I think is going to be tough. I mean, like, Luis Ariz comes to mind for me because he brought it up in his post-game press conference, and we'll get into it in a lot more detail going forward in the weeks ahead. But he's someone who has it already on his mind because he's been traded the last 2 years, and because he knows his money is going to be going up, and the Marlins paid his salary this year for the Padres.
Correct.
And next year, then that salary was like 9-10 million. Next year, it's going to jump probably to 13 to 15 million, right? So that's one where you're going to look at and go, man, it's going to suck if Luis Arraez is traded. And you wonder if the front office is, though, going to go, well, we could get 3-4 guys that we need to fill and plug these, other holes for us for Luis Arraez. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that this front office is really going to want to part ways with anyone. It's really going to be more of a matter of necessity with financials. Let's
see if we can just add this up real quick. Fernando goes from 11.7 to 20.7 million dollars next year. Same player, $9 million more. So that's plus 9 right there. Yu Darvish goes from 16 million to 21 million right there. So that's 5 more. So that's plus 14. Jake Cronenworth goes from 7.2 to 11.2. That's another 4. Yeah. So now we're what? We're up to 18, right? $18 million more for the same team. Robert Suarez, same cost. Yuki Matsui costs $2 million more next year. That's 16. Wandy Peralta costs $1 million more. That's 17. Luis Arraez made 10.6 last year. You're going to have to pay his salary. Let's just be conservative and say 13. Now we're up to $29 million more for the same team, for the exact same team. Brian, Hoeing is pre-arb. Okay, no problem. How about Jason Adam? He is in his second year of arbitration. He goes up from 2.7 million to something. Morahone goes up. King, 3.1 this year. Now 180 starters innings.
King is going to make more money. Yeah.
He's going to make significantly more money.
Yeah. He's now a starter, and he's shown that his arm can withstand the full length of a season, and then some.
And Dylan Cease is in his final year of arbitration as well. He made $8 million this year. He almost led the league in strikeouts, pitched over 190 innings.
Yeah,
he absolutely gets a significant raise. So it is very fair, even conservatively, Annie, to say that before you do one thing to improve this team's roster, that it is going to cost probably 35+ million more dollars. And that's taking the free agents completely out of it.
Yes, and you need someone else in your starting rotation. Now, whether that's going to be Randy Vasquez or Johnny Brito or Matt Waldron, or maybe signing back Martin Perez in some way, shape, or form. The UT already reported a week or two ago, Kevin Acee did, that the payroll is expected to stay around the mark that they had this year, which is about $170 million that they ended up with this year. And they had some help along the way because of the Marlins covering Luis Arraez's salary, Yu Darvish going on the restricted list. That is also what I've heard, but I agree that we can make the argument, whether it's today or going forward, of, hey, this season went pretty well to form. If you're a season ticket holder, like I know you are, Craig, you're looking at it going, wait a second, why isn't that payroll going up? Right. And I will, reply back, well, the debts they have and the money they already have on the books and everything like that. But there is an argument to be made for that. And where it ends up, is going to be obviously a big point of significance based on who they'll be able to re-sign and who they'll be able to bring in.
Just looking at payroll, and I'm using Jason R. Martinez's roster resource on Fangraphs for this information. Estimated 2024 Padres payroll was $169 million. Their current payroll for next year, with the caked-in raises before arbitration, is $194 million. And their salary tax estimated number is already more than last year at $231 million. So if the reality, if what you said is reality, if up there they're saying we are not going to go over the threshold, we are not going to pay the luxury tax, even though we hit reset on everything, which allows you to go back over at low penalty, we're not going to go over, we're going to stay, then the Padres have almost no money to add to their team at all, anywhere, to re-sign one free agent, to re-sign Profar, to re-sign Higashioka, to re-sign literally, Tanner Scott, forget about it. Like, it begs it beggars belief is what I have to say. Either that they have to do a tear down or a cosmetic change of the roster to stay at that level, or they have to and personally, Annie, I think this Padres franchise, based on the age of the players that they have under contract and the commitments they have going forward, if they're not willing to make this coming season a splash year financially, it's hard for me to figure out how they make tangible gains upon this year.
And and so that's a good point too of, maybe they will go up in payroll and maybe they will go up by a certain point because it may be financially kind of impossible not to, right? Like you're going to have to make some really good trades along the way there and make use of whatever you have in your farm system or guys that are on like the 700, the minimum salary, right? Like your $1 million guys or your 750,000 guys or trying to get like those in. We already know that Eric Grupner has said and the front office has said we want to have a blend in order for us to be like quote unquote sustainable. We need to have a blend of the big market guys that we've already signed to big term contracts or the guys that you would make a splash with, plus guys from the farm system that can offset some of those costs. The issue this year is who are you going to bring up from the farm system necessarily? Or would it just be like the Waldrons or the Burritos or the Vasquez? Or there's probably, I'm not intimately familiar. I'll have to look at it in the weeks coming ahead. But there's probably some guys here or there that maybe are deserving of a chance. What's Rosario still in the farm system, right?
Yeah, he's like the one guy that didn't get traded.
So there are some guys there that maybe they're looking at or maybe targeting as like maybe could fill in some spots. But at the same time, I mean, I think it's a twofold because you're looking at AJ Preller and you're like, what he and his office did this year worked.
Right.
Hey, go out and do it again. The hard part about that is it doesn't always work that perfectly and there aren't always those available guys. And you know what I mean? Like every year is a new year that has its own challenges and its own, pressures of like who's on the market, who's available, what kind of class is this? All of that good stuff. So it's going to be a lot to follow in the months ahead of what they end up doing.
Let's take a break. I kind of want to table this part of it because it's stuff, like I said, we can talk about for weeks and months.
Yes, and we will.
Something for all of us, including in the audience, something for all of us to kind of back burner, just throw in the back of your head. What's the Padres' most tradable asset this winter? What is something that because the biggest difference between this year and last year, you don't have a Juan Soto to trade.
Yeah.
Juan Soto is one of the three most valuable players in baseball, 3 or 5 most valuable players in baseball. Even 1 year of his control got you back so much, right? Well, who would get you back stuff on this team that you actually could trade? Because you can't trade Manny, Xander, Tatis, etc. But what could you get back? Something to think about for the future. Put that in the back of your mind, and you'll wake up in the middle of the night with an answer, and then we'll talk about it down the road. But when we come back, something a little bit more nice, glorious, optimistic, whatever, friendly, happy about the San Diego Padres. Who would you name as the team MVP for 2024? We'll try to answer that question when we come back. And we got a grab bag of some other things to chat through, too. Andy and Elsten go until 2 o'clock. Wynn and Chris check in right then on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, 124 on the Fan. It's Annie and Elsten. Ask Us Anything is our next segment, so we'll be opening up the phone lines shortly. Got a couple of different things we could get to here, but I thought we could just start off with something real simple, real easy, gets everyone in the studio involved. 2024 Padres season, rear view mirror. Who's the MVP of the team? They'll have their not little, it's great, it's big, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. They'll have their banquet shortly, right? Like,
do they do that?
They do.
Do they still do like an MVP of every team? Like,
I
they
think
do that?
so. Did they stop doing it?
I never even knew if they did that. I feel like that's like a high school thing. Is that like
they
no?
literally had a.
They do that in colleges.
Yeah.
Dude, they've always had.
Who was
think
the
I've
MVP
been there
last year?
once. I think I've been to it once. I don't know who it was last year. Maybe,
Right,
maybe they stopped doing it. I don't
I'm all
know.
for them having a banquet.
Yeah, and having like their
and, like,
rookie of the
bringing out, like, a
year and their
certificate.
newcomer
yes,
and everything.
Yes, I'm all for that.
Okay, well now I need to know.
And the people who are in the apartments, like overlooking Petco Park, can tell us what's happening, like you guys usually do. So,
well, if someone out there knows whether they've abandoned this, I know they used to do it. I know they used to do it. I swear to God, I think I was at it at some point.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I would love to know about their awards dinner and who gets what awards.
Indeed. Okay, Adam says, they've always had it.
Newcomer of the year would probably have to be Jackson Merrill.
I think it would be. But how about right at the top? How about Padres 2024 team MVP? I think you could go arguably multiple ways here.
You could. I could think of 3 right off the top of my head.
All right, who are your nominees?
Well, my nominees would be Jurickson Profar.
Okay, yeah.
Jackson Merrill.
Uh-huh.
Manny Machado.
Okay.
And man, it's hard not to put any of the pitchers on there. I would almost make a collective pitching staff one. I don't think that's allowed.
It's a
I don't
tough
think that's
trophy
allowed.
to give out.
But you know, collectively, the pitching staff for the Padres was really good. All right. Anyways, do you want my winner or okay? We're just doing nominees. Okay.
We can start with nominees, but if you have a winner, go ahead.
I mean, my winner is Jurickson Profar.
Fair enough.
I believe very strongly that this season would not have gone the way it did for them if Jurickson Profar had not pretty much held this team up throughout the first half of the season. And then again, in the second half, coming through in very clutch moments. I'm counting out the postseason because the only person that really, besides Fernando Tatis Jr., it was David Peralta and Kyle Higashioka offensively that really came through with the bat. So I'm just going regular season only, right? But in terms of giving this team an edge, in terms of coming through in big clutch moments, he was leading the league in late and close situations for, might have ended the season that way. I don't have the stat right in front of me, but for at least most of the season, top producer for much of the season, did a great job out there in the outfield, and also was like one of the main clubhouse guys for this team that helped them create an identity and get through the length of the season. In terms of just regular season stats, ended with the top OPS for the team and top on base percentage. Mm-hmm. However, some of the other nominees ended with the best average, the best slug, so we can get into that. But listen, I am fully believe that Jurickson Profar, while the other nominees are very worthy, I don't think they could have done what they did without him doing what he did.
That's a great call. I think it's a wonderful argument as well. Braden, what do you think? Who would you nominate? Who would you pick?
MVP, probably going to be, I think it's Jackson Merrill. I think it's for all the same reasons that Andy picked Jurickson Profar. I mean, it's literally everything was the same, right? I mean, it's like there was no spot in center field when the Padres parted ways with Trent Grisham. It was a major risk throwing him out there from him being a shortstop. And, you know, you needed really an MVP type season out of Jurickson Profar if you wanted to get to the playoffs, and you also needed a Rookie of the Year type season out of Jackson Merrill to get to the playoffs. So if Andy's going with Profar, I'm going to go with Merrill. I think those two are the most valuable assets the Padres have had this year.
My nominees would be Merrill, Profar, and Michael King.
Michael King is a great one.
I think King just truly, truly delivered for this team. And that's not to say that Dylan Cease didn't, okay? Dylan Cease's seasonal total of 4.8 FWAR is the second highest on the team. So if you just were being kind of a quant about it, you would put Cease as one of the nominees. However, we watched and experienced this season all together, and Dylan Cease was an inconsistent contributor to the San Diego Padres. He consistently posted up. He consistently delivered innings pitched, but he had 3 different stretches where when he went out there for a 6, 7, 8, even 10-game stretch, the numbers he was putting up were really mediocre. High 4 ERA, even 5 ERA, lots of walks, 5 innings. Of course, his 2 appearances in the postseason were neither one of them were any good, but we're not talking about the postseason. We're only talking about the regular season here. So for me, King was the guy who, from a performance arc standpoint, consistently improved. And you have to give him a pass for March and April when he was transitioning from being a reliever to a full-time starter. He didn't know what he didn't know yet. And he learned that, figured out his body, figured out his routine, his competitive rhythms. And by the end of the year, he was this team's #1 starter. So I'm giving King all of those flowers to say that I would agree in the end with Braden, and I would give Merrill team MVP. I just... And I totally agree with everything you said about Jerks.
I don't think Merrill could have done what he did without Jerks and doing what he did first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And also allowing for Merrill to blossom in a clubhouse where his impact was kind of just became something that he didn't have to stress about. You know what I mean? Merrill wasn't brought in to be, although Jackson Merrill, he would do very well in the top of the lineup, and I'm sure he will be in the top of the lineup next year.
I'm sure he will too.
He wasn't brought in to kind of be that guy. He was brought in, hey, do your thing at the bottom of the lineup, be a serviceable center fielder, which he ended up being even better than serviceable. There were so many strides he made, but I just feel like he couldn't have, would have been hard to make those without Profar laying out that groundwork. But they're both very worthy.
Yeah, no, they're both worthy. I mean, just from a pure quant standpoint, Profar wound up at 4.3 FWAR and Merrill at 5.3. A lot of that is relayed in Merrill's defensive value, according to the numbers. Profar was the better offensive player and outrated Merrill offensively, and Merrill greatly outpaced him defensively.
He did. I mean, you look at what Jackson Merrill was able to do playing a position for the first time in his life, a new position out there in center field, and the strides he made. I mean, he did an absolutely terrific job out there in center field.
Now, let me ask another question. Because we're just having fun and we're talking Padres. Why not? Jackson Merrill was a high school shortstop, was a minor league shortstop in low A, high A, double A. Once he got to double A, he started playing in left field to give the Padres optionality. Then he got to spring training. He got thrown into center field. He was terrific. He was absolutely terrific. But what's going to be harder to find, a new center fielder or a new shortstop? Because the Padres do need a new shortstop. They could play Xander at shortstop. I think it's pretty clear the organization does not see that as a long-term destination for Xander Bogaerts, that if he was going to play short, it would probably be his last year playing short. But you also have DeVries moving his way through the system that the team thinks could be the shortstop in a year or two. So if you moved Merrill back to shortstop, all of a sudden now you might have to move him again in a couple of years. You wouldn't want that. However, you have a pressing need for next season.
So it's a great argument. The Union Tribune reported that the outfield is staying the same. Merrill and Tatis are not moving to shortstop. However, we all know how things change by spring training, and the best laid plans go awry when they get to spring training and there's a sudden injury or there's someone that they thought they were going to get that they didn't or whatever. So I don't completely rule them out, even though the organization right now is saying that they're staying in the outfield. I think that is their argument, is if we move Merrill to shortstop, maybe he risks more injury, which they don't want to give up, right? Perhaps maybe in the infield. But also, then they have Leo Dallas DeVries coming up the pipeline, and they don't, he's their shortstop of the future. I think that they leave Xander Bogaerts there for the next year. And I think in their minds, they're bringing Leo Dallas DeVries up sooner rather than later. I don't know how much sooner, but maybe one more year with Xander at shortstop.
Yeah.
But look, what if Xander gets hurt? You know, like what do you do? Like who do you move over there, and how do you patch that up? So
Right.
I think it would be best for them to go out there and see what's out there. You know, like how do you feel, whether that's the outfield or shortstop? Like how are you plugging that gap just in case?
Yeah, and affordability has to be a huge part of the equation for the Padres going forward, unless they go damn the torpedoes in 2025. Now, if they did that, I would lose my mind in happiness. If they said, screw it, screw the luxury tax. We just made 3.3 million fans.
Sure.
We just had the highest ticket prices ever. We just had a long run. Manny ain't getting younger. Xander ain't getting younger. Toddy ain't getting younger. King and Cease are on their last years. Sign Blake. Let's go get someone locked in that's going to be an ace for this team for years to come. We're going to have a super rotation this year. We've got plans for the future, da-da-da-da-da. And anyways, it didn't have to be Blake Snell. It could be so many different things. But if they did make that type of decision, I know the city of San Diego would go gaga. How could we love our team more, right? It would be if they did something like that. So,
and maybe that is, you're right. I mean, maybe maybe there will be one of those like big signings over the winter that we've been accustomed to in previous years.
Yeah, it kicks things over. The style, we talked about the cycle for AJ Preller in a previous segment. It's trades, money, trades, money. We don't have the personnel to make the trades this year in terms of minor league assets, but we could spend to cover the gap, wait another year for the farm system to develop those players that are ready to be picked off, picked off the rose bush or whatnot, and then do it again in 2026. Let's figure it out. Okay, before we go to break, because we just have a little bit of time, if you could go, Braden, up to, let's see, where did I put the funny NBA? Yeah, there it is. 1220.
Which one do you want?
The top link right there, the one that says Spike Eskin on it. I saw this yesterday, just come across my NBA newsletter-y type, media consumption. But it's pretty darn funny. This is NBA TV. These are two friends. The host is Chris Miles. The analyst is former Timberwolves head coach Sam Mitchell.
Okay.
They actually live in the same neighborhood together. Okay, so these guys are definitely, they know each other. They're pals. As this studio segment begins, Chris is going to start by kind of poking fun at Sam Mitchell a little, including his salary as analyst on NBA TV. And I don't think Chris, when he opened up the can, knew what was going to come flying out. Let's play, listen, and enjoy.
Hey, Sam, what do you think about the fact that Steve Kerr doesn't get going as head coach?
Yeah, I saw that. The coaches don't get medals. I guess it just tells you what international, how they value coaches. Not at all.
I'm surprised.
How the coaches don't get a gold medal?
I'm surprised coaches get a paycheck for this show. I think maybe you should do this pro bono, my friend.
Last time I looked at my check, it's pretty close. So hey, I'm taking donations. Why don't you come up off some of that money you got since you're over there bragging about it?
I'm not bragging about it.
Well, I mean, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you rent your beach house out down in Florida during the hurricane? Or do I need to go on? How about your townhouse over in Buckhead?
Hey, what's going on here, Sam?
You want to call me out? I mean, come on. You screaming broke and hungry. Let's just see it. I know what you have and where you live, young fella, so you need to stop.
I think we have snitches on the show today.
No, we don't have snitches. We have
Sam
truth tellers.
Mitchell.
We have truth tellers, so you're the one who crying poor and destitute up here. Do I need to keep going on further, more and more? Or do you want me to stop right now?
Go to this game between the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors.
You're going to stop messing with me on national TV. I done told you about that. Hey, do I need to give out the address? Because you're not at home right now.
Look at this. A game in Seattle.
Yeah. I miss that place. They should still have an NBA team. I love Seattle, one of the best NBA cities ever. They won a championship. The fact that they do not have a team, I don't understand.
I think that's pretty much
He
the
didn't
answer.
give away the address.
No, he
did he?
did.
Okay.
Although he did come back the next studio segment and give out an address,
God.
but it was not actually his address.
Some poor folks out there are going to get inundated with people like, showing up outside their door.
Yeah.
Trying to find out if he lives there. Hey, listen, to me that looked like a veteran. Okay, a veteran who, to me, it looked like something that's happened before.
Yeah.
And as soon as he said, hey, coaches shouldn't be paid, right? Coaches shouldn't be paid. This guy said, F-A-F-O, all right? F around, find out, all right? And that is where it went to. And I guarantee you this other fellow will not be bringing up his personal paycheck.
Chris Miles.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Now we got
to
to play the other one. Now we play the first. Click that second link there too, Braden, because obviously this made the rounds. This completely made the rounds in the NBA universe, and everyone saw it. It was like the head of the Athletic newsletter 2 days in a row. Okay. Like, you got to check this out, right? So because of that,
it was entertaining.
These two got together to create their own video, their own IG video to crush the beef.
Wait, do they do it afterwards?
This is the next day.
Great.
This is the
I
next
love
day.
This
Is
okay.
Chris Miles literally showing up at Sam Mitchell's front door the next day, and we roll it.
They said I'm beefing with Sam Mitchell. I rolled up to his house to see if we really had beef. Let's see what's going on. Neighbor!
Man, what the hell you doing that loud? Did I see you last night?
They said we beefing, brother.
About what? I hope it's some more beef or some real steak ribeye.
I'm trying to tell people that we're neighbors and friends, and you're basically telling people like, hey, my man is doing all right in life.
People, last night, it was a backhanded compliment. Everybody think that person sitting to our right is broke and destitute. What I basically was saying is, and the reason the house was on my mind, remember I had just asked you about the house.
That's not my address.
I know it's not your address, but we was talking about me and my wife renting the house for the holidays or something, and I asked you for the website so I can go on and book it, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing. My wife runs the house, okay? She's the one that has a new pool in it, and it's a beachfront property.
Oh, I know all that.
Rent.
You give me some more details.
There you go.
Now, what I want to know, do I get the friends and family discount? That's what I want to know.
You get the family discount, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right.
And there you go. Beef squashed.
Oh, gosh.
Beef squashed.
A lot of ass kissing in that last
Yeah,
there really was.
that
There
one-
was.
My wife runs the house.
That one kind of went a little too extra, but I do
Guys
hope
picking
that
up
they
points
really
everywhere.
are friends and
Yeah.
everything's cool.
No, they're friends, but I think don't mess with Sam Mitchell.
No,
is
you
the,
don't. Right. I'm right.
Don't talk about the man's paycheck.
And he had every look. You poked the bear a little too hard there. So.
Oh, that was I really enjoyed that. Okay, when we come back, we'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. This is our catch-all call-in segment to wrap up the program. So that means we're opening up the phone lines right now. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Give us a call. You got 10 minutes to call the show, and if you do, we'll put you up. All you got to do is have a question ready to go. We'll come back with Annie and Elsten and wrap it up next on The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. It's Annie and Elsten. It's our final segment. We will be back tomorrow with another full 4-hour show. Very much looking forward to it. Bryce Miller from the San Diego Union Tribune has agreed to come on at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll do a review, off-season preview with Bryce, get his thoughts on everything shaken out. Also tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Abe Zapata will join us, reporter from San Diego Punto Futbol. He has been year-round all year covering the Wave. He's been at every Wave match. Even when Tony and Chiva can't make it, Abe is there every single game. I see him at every single game. He's one of the only guys who's there talking to Landon at every practice, talking to Landon after games, talking to the players. So we'll check in with Abe tomorrow at 1 o'clock to find out what's at stake for the Wave in tomorrow night's CONCACAF group play game against Club America. Short version, if they win, they're going to be right into the semifinals of the tournament next year. So,
because you explained that this goes into next year.
Yes. So this part is super weird.
Yeah.
Right? Super, super weird. The tournament that is 2 years long.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've never actually heard of that, but apparently it's the same for the men's cup as well, the men's Champions Cup. It's one of the reasons why the MLS teams never win it is because, they'll qualify one year and then they come back with a totally different team, maybe different coach, the whole thing. But my understanding, and Abe will explain it further to us tomorrow, is that if the Wave win and they're finished top of group, that they don't even have to play the first round of knockouts, that they move straight to the semifinals. So that would be huge, right? To get to the Final Four in a snap. We'll talk about that with him tomorrow. All of the latest from the American League Championship Series and more coming up tomorrow. Right now, let's knock out some calls on Ask Us Anything. Eight 833-288-0973. I want to start with Magic. He was trying to call in yesterday and we missed him.
Magic.
Hello, Magic. Welcome to the show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, very quickly before I ask the question for today, especially downtown and wherever I travel throughout the county, last week took a lot of human energy and powerful euphoria away from the city. It's going to take a long time to recover. With that being said, my question to all three of you is, are you more disappointed or are you more angry at the way the season ended?
Good question, Magic. Thank you for calling.
I'm not. I don't know if I'd say I'm either. I'm sad for them because I thought they had a great opportunity. So maybe disappointed if I had to choose one. Like I'm sad in that respect. I think that they had a really good team with a great opportunity to go the distance this year.
For me, it's hard for anger to hold. I was probably angry for some period of Friday night. I'm disappointed. I'm definitely disappointed. And not in the way that a father is disappointed in their son. I don't feel like, I see some folks in the chat that just keep saying choke, 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 choke. Like, I don't feel that way. I feel like this felt so much more like an NBA playoff series where one team makes an adjustment, that adjustment changes the series, and if the other team doesn't come with the counter, then the series ends. And the Padres didn't come with the counter. I found that very disappointing. How about you, Braden?
I found it to be disappointing with the way that they finished. Just, it's not disappointing like the season, but I honestly, people are going to, I think they let the city down. I really do. I mean, and that's not to say they didn't try. I think they tried, but I really think they let us down. And, from that point, it's sad. But you know what? It's baseball, man. Baseball's a weird sport. The best team doesn't always win. So, and the best roster doesn't always win, and things don't go your way. So, not a blame thing, but that's the kind of initial feeling I had was I think the city was let down.
Here's Johnny in 4S Ranch. Hi, Johnny. Welcome to the show. Ask us anything.
Good afternoon, Annie, Braden, and Craig.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My question to the three of you. You are the brain trust of the Padres for next year. Sky's the limit. We want to get the Commissioner's Trophy and finally bring that championship to San Diego. Are you going to make an attempt to bring back Juan Soto?
Oh, wow.
Depends if I find a money tree in the backyard.
Yeah, if Spectrum wants to come with an $8 billion TV offer.
Yes, if my leprechaun finds the pot of gold, then yes.
I would love to have Juan Soto on this team. I'm going to say that, but
yeah.
If I have the resources for that, then yes. But I don't know if they
Juan
do.
Soto ain't leaving the East Coast, gang.
It's something that, honestly, I was just thinking about in our last segment at the 1 p.m. hour. Is like, we haven't talked Juan Soto yet. Where's Juan Soto going to end up? What's that money going to be? But because we don't need to, he's playing in the playoffs still, and it's going to be a story really after the playoffs end and the World Series. But I don't think the Padres could do it because I don't think most teams could do whatever that Juan Soto contract is going to demand.
My personal guess is if the Yankees win it all, Soto's a Yankee. If the Yankees don't win it all, Soto's a Met next year.
But if the question is if you had all the money in the world, would you do it? Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Yes, absolutely.
100%. I wish he would never leave. Absolutely. Here is Alex in Fallbrook, our champion in the last minute. Hello, Alex. Welcome back.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. Not as good as you, but doing well.
2 questions for you. One really quick one. What's for dinner tonight? And the second one is, should I send my postseason gear back that I just received today?
No. Keep it for the memories, as bitter as they may be. Keep them for the memories. And, we still have some leftover Corbin's barbecue at home. So
It's Taco Tuesday. Maybe
It
some
is
tacos.
Oh, wow, that's a great call. I could always use a taco.
Great idea. Thank
Alex,
you guys so much.
great stuff, brother.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Alex.
you. That's it for the show today.